All right, we're live. All right.
Yeah, we
Welcome
are.
everyone to the OCR. Yep, the OCR reports coverage of the 2024 Spartan Mexican Series, race one of three, in Puebla, Mexico. This is going to be a super, so super is going to be about 10K ish, as we all know. I'm here with Dustin Duro. Dustin, how are you?
Oh, I am absolutely outstanding and thrilled to be here. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. Really excited to cover this race with you here. Looks like a course going on this year here. So while we wait for the athletes to take the starting line here, we could definitely talk about that a little bit. So I don't know if we can get a view of the map at all. I don't know if that might be a good visual for some of us
Yeah.
while we're waiting out here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at a copy of the map right now, and this looks like a killer course with some really great obstacles. I'll be very excited to see how the athletes handle this.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we're looking at least two or three steep climbs with then a very steep descent after those three climbs, and then
Hmm.
followed by an absolute gauntlet of obstacles. Kind of as per usual, Spartan. They
Hmm.
tend to like to put 10 or so obstacles right at the very end for spectatorship for the people who are present on site.
Hmm.
Um, to kind of do a little read down of the obstacles here. So we've got a couple of walls, 4 foot, 5 foot hurdles. OUT, which is the over under through. It hasn't been in US in a while. Then we got a couple of monkey bars, then barbed wire, followed by Olympus. Then we got everyone's favorite, the spear throw. There, I believe.
Yeah.
We'll find out for sure if there's the circle again in the Mexican series here, but I know the circle has been really giving people fits over in U.S. racing. Um,
Well, could you explain the circle a bit for people who might not quite be familiar?
yeah, yeah. So in previous iterations of Spartan Race, we've always just had usually a bundle of hay or maybe some foam and just a square. As long as it hits the square target, you're
Hmm.
you're in. But now in 2023, they've put a plywood over the foam with a cutout circle. So you have to be within that circle. Basically, if you're like throwing darts, you have to get a bullseye instead of just landing somewhere on the board. So makes
Oof.
the accuracy a lot more important for sure. Um,
Yeah. Geez. And for something that so
yeah.
many people already struggle with, that is going to be
Mhm.
a major point of frustration. I'll be very curious to see how that pans out if it is part of the
Yeah,
race today.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm believing in this race as well, similar to the new changes for 2023 in Spartan is no burpees. So even
Mhm.
if the spear throw is a point of contention, it's really going to depend on how difficult they decide to make that penalty loop, if there is one. That can really change things too. Sometimes the penalty loop takes 2 minutes to complete. Sometimes it takes 30 seconds. So if it's a short penalty loop, you might see people even just try to just chuck the spear and just get on the penalty loop instead of taking their time to aim and throw. So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens there. What kind of strategies are used?
Yeah, there are some people just no matter how much effort, how much practice they put in, it's just the fates are against them. They're not going to get that spear throw. And then, of course, there's some people
Hmm.
that I've seen who can just throw it overhanded, underhanded, spin around, and toss it like a bow staff and nail it every time. It's the most confusing thing.
Yeah. No. Right. Absolutely. Um, yeah, and then another interesting obstacle we have here on our list here is obstacle number 14 being the balance beam. Balance beam is an obstacle we don't see often in a lot of other races in the U.S. Anyway. I think we only seen it in Cowboy Stadium when that was a race that they've done. But balance beam also another thing like the spear throw. No matter how much you practice your balance, especially if the course is muddy or if it's wet, it's very still easy just to slip off there. So that could
Oh,
be one that's
absolutely.
heavily failed even by some of our top athletes.
Well, that's one of the classic obstacles. That was part of Spartan Race from the beginning. And like, I don't know if people out there even remember me as part of Spartan, but I worked there from 2010 to 2017. So I was there from like the beginning. And the balance beam was one of these standards we put at every single event. And it seems like such a simple obstacle, the kind of thing that you can just breeze through. It's a playground obstacle. But as you said, like when you're tired, when your shoes are wet, when things are going awry, when there's mud, it can all just fall apart, kind of like we saw last year at World's Toughest Mudder with Joshua Fiore. He was in third place and he was rocking it and he slipped on the balance beam, fell on his ribs, and separated some of the cartilage, and it slowed him down for a lot of the race. And I mean, he was he was the first Spartan World Ultra Championship winner and an absolute legend in what he does. But even someone at that high caliber can be taken out by a slick piece of board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So after they finish the balance beam, we're gonna get a couple other obstacles here. Stairway to Sparta, Z wall carry, pretty straightforward. Number 18 is a strange one though, the splash sprint. I've never quite heard of this obstacle, to be completely
Neither have
honest.
I.
However, yeah, there's no dunk wall or rolling mud on this map. So I am a little bit curious to see, maybe that's they're new for the rolling mud into dunk wall, because splash sprint, I mean, just kind of imagining it, that sounds pretty close to what rolling mud and dunk wall might be like.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll have to just find out when we get there. But that can cause some issues though because afterwards we have rope climb and Hercules hoist. So if our athletes are getting wet right before those two obstacles, that can make
Mm-hmm.
for some interesting carnage for sure. And then followed up by after those two rope obstacles, multi-rig. So another phrase that we haven't seen
aquatic
on a lot of
multi-rig.
maps. But my indication is that it's going to be a rig just over water.
Oh, okay. Okay, I just wanted to. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So Tyler, you know way more about these series and series championships than I do. So can you? Oh, we
Mhm.
got the men's series top 10 from last year. Top three,
Yeah.
three of the
Mhm.
nicest guys you could ever hope to meet in the sport, which is always nice to see.
Yep. So yeah, so last year it was a North American Elite Series, and so we had one race in Mexico, one race in Canada, and three races in the U.S. So five total races. I believe only four counted here, but so
Mhm.
a lot of U.S. athletes on this that we're seeing on our screen. Um, between Rylan Shaddegg, Tyler Veerman, and I guess technically Alvaro Vasquez, even though he's a Venezuelan athlete, he exists in Florida currently. But you have Ciro Perez is going to be the one name on this list that we're going to be seeing today here. So that's going to be he seems to be like the front runner for this race in particular, but we'll definitely see for sure.
Yeah, that's what it says in my research as well. He is one of the top favored athletes of the day. And now here we have the women's series top 10 from 2023. Yeah, we may be having some connection issues with Tyler, but Tyler, can you hear me? Are you with us?
Yep, I'm with you. I'm with you now. Yeah, I was out for like a minute there.
Okay,
Not too sure what's
happens to all the
happening
best
on
of
my
us.
end.
Yeah, no worries. So, yeah, let's hear your insights for the 2023 from the women. Since, as we talked about before, I've been out away from Spartan for a few years, so I'm basically going to be the layman who is asking the questions and learning at the same time as so many other people as we go through this.
Yeah, and so looks like here where we switched over to the female side of things, with Crystal Rosky being the champion last year in this race here. Um, looks like according to some of our lists here, confirmed athletes, we don't have anybody on this list that we did that did it last year here. So we'll be curious to see any new athletes kind of come through and break the mold. Now, again, this is a little bit different because we have a separate U.S. series and we have a separate Mexican series. So it'll be very curious. We'll be very curious how they're going to integrate when it comes to the Pan American Championships in Seattle. Now, top 20 get in to Seattle here. So There'll be a lot of athletes punching their ticket within a few hours.
Yeah, so here on the screen, we have the information about the Mexican National Series with March 16th, the race we are watching today. Then June 22nd, we have the Valle de Bravo Sprint. August 3rd, the Heroico Colegio Militar Beast. I don't speak Spanish, and I am so sorry to everyone whose day I just ruined with my butchering of that pronunciation. Colegio? Okay. God. Uh, and then obviously September 13 and 14, the Pan American Championships. And then we have the U.S. National Series and the Canada National Series. U.S. started off on February 25th with the Jacksonville Sprint. On May 19th, they have the Big Bear Super, and July 20th, the Utah Beast. And for Canada, June 16th, I don't speak French either, the Mont Tremblant Super. July 21st, the Red Deer Sprint, and August 24th, the Kelowna Beast. And if I butchered those, I am also sorry to our neighbors from the north. I love you, Canada. But I'm very excited to see
the biggest difference with this. Yep. Oh, here we go. Here comes some 2024 championship qualifications. Kind of like I was talking about earlier, if I wasn't cutting out there. Was that so? You have to do a regular Spartan weekend and be in top 3. I believe gets into at least a start line for the Elite National Series here, which is this race. The top 20 qualify for the regional championships out in Seattle, and then the top 50 qualify for the World Championships, which I believe is announced to be in Abu Dhabi once again.
I believe so. And just to be nostalgic for a second, how cool is it that, speaking as someone who's been a part of the sport professionally since 2010, how cool is it that we've been able to see this sport, this industry, this community grow to a point that they need all of these qualifications? Because when I started working for Spartan, we had like 8,000 fans on Facebook. There was no competition to get to the start line of any of these things. If you wanted to be at the World Championship, you showed up and hoped for the best. But the fact that they've got so many people and it's grown so much and it's become such a powerful industry that they have to have all of these qualifiers, I think that is a great sign for not only the power and growth of the industry, but also its staying power and the potential for a strong future.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So some of the athletes we're going to be seeing here. First one that I see on the men's side is going to be Ciro Perez. Ciro was. I guess we're gonna talk about the women first. So here we have on our screen Maria Renata Aguilar. So looks like she's making the jump from age group over to elite. She was first in the age group at the Campeche Super in December, which I'm assuming may be a race here local to Mexico. Not too familiar with this athlete here, but this is a good photo of her. She's jacked. So
she looks strong. Absolutely.
Maybe a strong. Yeah. Perhaps a strong carrier there. Now here we have Isabella Bolivar, and again, not super familiar with this athlete either. So I'll be interested to see what she does. One thing I am noticing is that blue band on her wrist. It's the Dustin. You may remember from your days. That was how you you designated the competitive athletes or the elite athletes when it was elite and open. So if she has one of those blue bands, good chance she's been doing Spartan for a number of years now, because that went away in like 2017, 2018. So could be a very well seasoned athlete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah. You kind of know now when people are walking through the venue with all those bands on their bag how much of a veteran they are. And here on our screen we have Dulce Velasquez Flores, another person I'm not super familiar with. So we'll be curious to see how she competes here. But don't know if we're gonna get any stats on her. Nope, all right, and here's Eloisa Godinez Romero.
And as you've said on multiple athletes, there's Laura Mirabal. As you've said on the other athletes so far, these aren't people that we as Americans are particularly familiar with. But I think one of the cool things about this broadcast, and especially being a multilingual broadcast, is that by the end of the day, we will be very familiar. And these athletes get to be exposed to a new market and a new crowd, and they'll get some of the recognition that they, properly deserve. Because I have no doubt that they are incredible at what they do, and I'm very excited to see them really shine today. Yeah, and as I just mentioned, this is a multilingual broadcast. We are broadcasting right now, obviously, in English, but also we have a simultaneous broadcast happening in the local language, Spanish. And you can find out about that on the OCR Report YouTube page or the Instagram. There's links on both.
No, I'm gonna make an attempt here to move location and see if that's gonna do me any good here. Let's try. I'll just see here that before the race gets before the race
All right.
gets started.
All right, and we've got the
Let's,
some of the men up here. We have Mauricio Pantera Martinez Valdez, uh, who I am also not familiar with, but he looks very strong and very capable. Then Eugenio, Eugenio Godinez. Wow, 7 podiums in 2023, and he definitely looks fit. So this will be one to watch today for sure.
yes, and actually, Eugenio he actually was second place in the Mexican race in the North American Elite Series, just behind VJ Jones. He's a
Nice.
very fast runner, but actually had a very hard time at the swim. But luckily for him, no swim today on our course. All right, and then here we have Renio Fermin, 2 podiums in 2023. So hey, more than myself.
More than I've ever had.
And then here we have here we have the athlete that I think most people are going to be familiar with, Angel Quintero. Been racing since 2014, so I've definitely seen him at World Championships before. Three wins in 2023 and 6 podiums. So he definitely is going to be the odds-on favorite to win this race, and we'll definitely see how he can do.
Yeah, for sure.
And then and then we have Ciro Perez. Pretty similar statistics to Angel. 3 first places, 5 podiums, and 10th in the 2023 North American Elite Series. So he's all in, right? Because if you're coming from Mexico, there was 1 race in your home country. There were 3 races in the U.S., 1 race in Canada. I know you could skip 1 race, but that means he's taking a cross country flight 3 times for this sport. So you got to just think he's all in, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know how old Ciro is either. I mean, he definitely does look a little bit older than some of our other athletes, but doesn't mean they're not capable for sure. I mean, we see athletes like Colt DeRosa, who's over 50 years old, for example, still hitting elite podiums. Things like that. Just some people who are in their 40s and 50s, even just really killing it. So, no idea how old Ciro is, but again, 10th in the series last year is nothing to sneeze at.
Well, and as people get into their 40s, it becomes like the body starts to change, obviously. But at that age, you are prime for endurance competition. You are prime for having longevity. That's why, like, bringing my buddy Josh Fiore back in, that's why we see him really dominating at a lot of the like ultra events and super long distance things. He's 42, I believe. And just one fun fact that I always use to explain this point is that when it comes to doing things like climbing Mount Everest, the older people that do it, I mean, obviously it's an achievement no matter what your age is, but it's the younger people, the youngest, that have the harder time, because as you get into 40 and 50, that is when your like oxygen transport and endurance is actually at its peak. So doing things like Everest become easiest when you are in your 40s and 50s. So I do think that we're going to see a lot of the older athletes, especially at the longer events, going from super and then advancing to beast and ultra as they do advance in age a little bit. And I'm really excited to see Mexico getting a broadcast, getting more recognition, because even from the earliest days of Spartan, from the very first race, Mexico was always had such a strong presence in the sport, and the people, the participants, and the people who actually work the event, the staff and everything, they have always been so incredible. And like back in the days when we still had the gladiators and everything at the finish line, it always made me so happy. And like they sent me one. I was so excited, and I still own it. The gladiators at the finish line of the Mexico races, they wore Spartan luchador masks with like a
Oh,
the whole. Oh, it was so. I wish that I had it with me so that I could show it on screen. But yeah, it was so cool. They've always been so spirited. I'm so glad that they are finally getting the chance to really be seen by other markets.
yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I know they tried to combine the series last year with North American. I'm not too sure what they did in the last couple of years before then. So not sure how new this Mexican series is for Mexico here. But yeah, like you mentioned, definitely really great to
Mm.
see other countries getting their fair share, because we could talk about, I mean, we could talk about athletes like Ryan Atkins, like Josh Fiore, like VJ Jones all day long. And they're people's favorites, but it's really
Yeah.
good to see other athletes who are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into this
Mm.
sport, and really shine here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's also cool to see the OCR report growing and being able to do all these international broadcasts and everything. That's extra awesome. And you know what? Just while we have a quick second before everything kicks off, I want to, well, for one, thank the OCR report for having the two of us on here to do this broadcast and do some commentary. Spartan Race for having all of us involved. But more than anything, the athletes, the spectators, and especially the viewers for being here to watch and support what we do here at the OCR report. Out of all the words I butchered, it had to be the name.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it really does. It's a lot of dedication, right? I mean, even like Jason and team on site, making the trip all the way down here, getting everything set up. I volunteered at a couple of races before, and even on camera 3 right now, that's not currently, it doesn't have a great view, but you see those metal. I don't even know what they're called, but they
We
take
usually call them bicycle
forever.
rack fencing. Yeah. Oh,
Yes, okay. They
yeah,
take forever to set up. And if you
they
ever go
do.
to a Spartan race, there's hundreds of them. There are hundreds of them, and they're super
It,
heavy. Like, ugh.
yeah, if not
So,
thousands. God, I have probably moved 100,000 of those things during my 7 years at Spartan, and you're not telling a lie. They are not lightweight. They are heavy. They are cumbersome. Oh, and yeah, like there is no way to properly illustrate the amount of effort that goes into putting on these events from the on-site staff. They like it is the love of the sport that has kept this industry going, because if the staff wasn't passionate, they never would have put in this kind of work that is necessary to put on an event of this caliber.
mhm. Yep,
God,
absolutely.
yeah. I mean, not to dive too far back into nostalgia, but especially in the early days when it was a really small crew, and on race day back in like 2011, we would be on site from 5 a.m. until probably 4 a.m. We would be on site at 4 a.m., work all day, and we did not leave until every obstacle was broken down and was back on the truck that night. So we would be there probably 23 hours on race day. And then that Sunday, we would spend it driving to the next venue. And then Monday, we'd start over. And yeah, like that's one of the things that I think makes this whole industry and community so special, is that it is built out of nothing but love and passion and dedication to what could have just been a flash in the pan, silly little 1 year fad, but has turned into this major international multi-continent community, which is just beautiful. And it's so cool to watch.
Yeah, and we're getting to what, year 14 of this now? 14, 15, something like that. So,
Yeah,
I mean, what,
technically the
2010 was the
first
first race?
the first race was 2009 in Vermont, but they only had
Okay.
one race that year. And then there was like 5 or 6 in 2010, and 2011 was when it really started to kick off.
Right.
2011 Vermont was the very first beast that they ever
Mhm.
had. And yeah, then it's just grown exponentially from there. And obviously we lost a lot of events and companies and A lot of good people in the community we lost during the pandemic and lockdown and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And just to see the sport being able to claw through, which is not only, like a great metaphor for what the sport tries to teach us, but it's just great to see the dedication to continuing what they've been working toward. Oh, we got a live
Yep.
video here from the start line. Looks like we're going to be kicking off fairly soon.
Yep, looks like we're a few minutes delayed here, but we'll
Mm-hmm.
first talk about what people are wearing out here. So, not too sure what we got for weather degrees wise, but there's very limited amount of shirts on the men's side here, and if so, they're wearing a tank top. So, got
Yeah.
to imagine it's probably at least in this early morning here. I know it's coming from the East Coast, we're about 2 hours ahead time zone wise. But
Mm-hmm.
it's you got to imagine. I mean, even the spectators, you look at them, they have like a light sweatshirt on. So, got to imagine it can't be much cooler than 50 degrees at the start line here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
Maybe even probably
I
warmer than that.
just in case we run into confusion as we are watching and trying to keep track of the
Oh,
athletes,
we got a
I just want
weather
to
right
point out.
here.
Oh yeah, right there. So yeah, 42 degrees Fahrenheit, 9 degrees Celsius, which I'm actually over here in England right now. So 9 degrees is what
Oh,
we mostly use. I'm still trying to learn Celsius. I'm not good at it.
good afternoon to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and a good morning to you, my friend. But as I was saying, when we're trying to track the athletes and do commentary on them, one of the tricks that we try to use to recognize people quickly is taking note of what the athletes are wearing, because it's usually fairly unique kind of stuff. But today, if we try to track anybody by saying, hey, it's the shirtless guy in the black shorts, we are going to get nothing. It's going to narrow nothing down. But rest assured, we will do our absolute best.
Yep, absolutely.
We're gonna
And
have to
so
start
now
tracking tattoos now.
yeah, right. I think so. I believe the man on the left who is facing to his side. I believe that is Angel Quintero. Um, So I think that guy there is the one we want to look out for there mostly. The most tenured experience and the best resume.
Mm-hmm. Did you by chance
Uh,
spot Ciro Perez in there?
I did not know.
Okay.
I said once it breaks out here, and I mean, what's nice
Mm-hmm.
about Spartan too, unlike a track race or a marathon, it's going to break out pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the top, usually we get down to the top 3 or 4 guys and ladies pretty much right away. There's not too much packing that goes on generally, especially when we get to some
Yeah.
obstacles. So we'll be able to get a good view at who's who.
Yeah, and with this being like a mid-distance race, a super, we probably won't see too much of the people, like really hanging back and pacing themselves for the longer distance at the beginning, like we see in some of the
Right.
longer events where there can be like big surprises happening.
Yeah, and if you're curious, probably men probably top time. We're probably looking at something in like that hour to hour 15 mark, most likely. I mean, there's definitely some elevation in this race, but not a ginormous amount of we're not talking about a Killington or a Palmerton, things like that. So not a ginormous amount of climbing. So, but
Yeah,
it's still definitely not. It's not going to be flat quite like Jacksonville though.
no. And just while we've got this current view of the start line, I just want to commend Spartan Mexico for just how clean that start line looks.
Yeah.
Like that truss work, like the banners, how tightly they are attached. Like that is a good looking start line. You see a lot of races, or like even the ones I used to work, and like a lot of the races that still happen. And I mean no disrespect with this, but they will have like the inflatable start arch,
Mm-hmm.
which it does the job. It looks
Oh,
good,
sideways.
but this
There we go.
looks next level, and they've really done a
Mm-hmm.
great job building not only what looks like a very professional and elite. I love the people taking pictures start line, but
Yeah.
also
They
it
love
looks,
this so much. They're taking a picture.
yeah, it just looks so elevated, and it's great representation for all of the sponsors of the event. And I'm a sucker for things like that, those small details. So I just really wanted to commend them for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, some of the brands we have on this too. It looks like I see Gatorade, I see Santander. So two brands that we're familiar with here in the states that I don't believe are partners with Spartan there. So and they're big brands. I mean, obviously, who doesn't know Gatorade as a brand? So That's
Yeah.
that's a good sign if we're talking about those kind of big names getting involved.
Yeah. And speaking of sponsors for Spartan, like one of the things that I noticed while I was still working there was um, we used to have some sponsors, and it seemed to never fail. If there was a big sponsor of Spartan Race and they were a relatively small company at the time, within 1 year, they would launch into something absolutely massive. And I can't say absolutely for certain, but I do think a large part of it was because of their sponsorship and their engagement with this community that allowed them to grow. Like one of my like we used to have Core Power, the protein shake, back in like 2014, and they were relatively unheard of at that time. And they were with us for a year, and then they were like one of the sponsors of the Olympics like a couple of years later. Like it was absolutely insane, absolutely insane. So to see the sport go from launching the small brands to partnering with the literal first sport electrolyte drink that was ever marketed as such, and probably the biggest name in that industry. I think that is another great sign of growth, and that's really really cool, especially for these. And I don't say like ancillary races as a way to demean it, but like all of the outside of the US, most of the other Spartan countries are essentially like franchises and stuff. So they may not always have the support and the resources that Spartan US or Spartan UK would probably have. And to see them doing this, especially with such a relatively small number of events happening in their country, to see them getting brands like Gatorade, that is really cool.
Absolutely.
And I wish I was more familiar with some of these other brands that we see up there so we could shout them out properly and talk a bit more about them as well.
Yeah, it looks like I see Tank GWM is one I see, and there's a couple other logos that, like I said, unfortunately don't quite have that recognition. But of course, I mean, good on them for getting involved with such a booming sport.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of it probably is very recognizable for
Hmm.
people from this area. It's just not stuff that we in the U.S. or the U.K. would be particularly familiar with on our own.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, it looks like I'm hearing some Spanish being spoken by one of the staff members. So I'm assuming we're doing some rules. It's like must grab the
Mm.
sandbag, must go in the dunk wall, must do all that fun stuff. So
Yeah,
that's
it
what
sounds
I'm
like the
assuming is
pre-race
happening
briefing is
now.
underway. Yeah, that's a really good sign that
Yes.
we're about to kick it off. And man, these pre-race briefings used to be so brief, but they had to start getting way way more specific because back in like 2015 there were some athletes who would do anything in their power to find loopholes in in those briefings. Like we used to only say for your burpees your chest has to touch the ground, your feet have to leave the ground, with no other instruction than that because we assumed people would know what burpees were. And there was one athlete who basically just did like little hopping push-ups so that his chest touched the ground and his feet left the ground. And since that's the only information we had given, technically had to allow it to count. And after that, that is the specific reason that at every race they get very specific. You must stand vertically, drop down horizontal to the ground, do a push-up, chest munch, and like go through every detail of it. And yeah, just because of people's obsession with finding loopholes and trying to find whatever little edge they can get, that is that's one of the big reasons that these talks have had to get progressively longer as the industry goes on.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. Wow. Absolutely. And then also, let's talk
Uh,
about how clean this the broadcast looks as well with the time clock. I love that in the top corner. That's always good for viewership. And
oh
then
yeah.
what we'll be excited too is I know I'm hopeful that someone on staff on site may have people's name with their headband number, so we may be able
Mhm.
to get names as well that way, and maybe able to put some pieces together.
Yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic if that is a possibility. Oh, I know exactly what's happening right now. God, I'm too familiar with this. Um, Yeah, for those who don't know me or my background in the sport, I'm a start line guy. I'm the hype guy. I'm an announcer for the most part. So I'm used to the guy here at the start line doing all of this stuff. And when I see who I can only assume is probably a race director or a race official holding their radio up next to their ear, they are doing last checks, asking every obstacle if we are cleared to go, and just waiting to hear back to get the go ahead. And we should be able to get things underway in just a second. And it looks like he is walking out of the way and people are getting into position. So it should be a very, very brief amount of time until we see the athletes hit the course.
Yep, absolutely. And so it looks like we also might have a trail race as well going on at the same time, which definitely might get a little bit challenging. Looks like we may have some latecomers to the trail race. Maybe the trail race might have been getting going before the Spartan race began. So for those of you who don't know, the trail race is a slightly separate course, but they did. Okay. Yep. So the trail race is a slightly separate course. You see some trail athletes right now on camera too, and they don't do any of the obstacles, but they may be also looping across the course in some ways. So if you see an athlete who might be ahead of one of our top competitors, and it's like, whoa, who's that? Where'd they come from? Or if they have a blue or a teal headband on, they're not part of our group here that we're talking about today.
Nice. That's a good note. Whoa, look, even the kids' race has the cool start line? What? Yes. With all the truss? No way. That is awesome. Oh, dude, imagine being a kid at this event and seeing that crazy professional looking start line. And they got to be so amped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did a kids' race in 2012, and they did not have that start line. I did not win.
Oh, no.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. Yeah.
Yeah, geez, I haven't been to a Spartan race. Not since I left back in 2017, and now I am personally very curious to know how much of this happens routinely at some of the other events now. Because I know the company has grown and changed and evolved since I left. So this is really the first Spartan event that I have seen in a very long time. So this is really, really cool.
Yeah, I'd have to say I'm a massive participant in Spartan race here. I probably did about 20 races last year, and most of them still have that arch, that inflatable arch. So I think because this is a series race, that's why they have this really clean looking trussing
cool.
up. So
yeah, and just for a bit of behind the scenes tidbit information. That start arch is the bane of every start line guy's existence. Well, it was the bane of mine because it's also part of our responsibilities. That thing is usually run by a generator that's there with us at the start line to run the audio equipment, to run the start arch and all of that. And we have to remember to get the gas can and top it off every so often. And I am crafted out of pure unadulterated ADHD. So the number of times that I forgot and I just hear the generator stop and I'm like, oh no. And I have to sprint, pour a little, and try to get it started fast enough to not have the start arch fall. I definitely failed that mission more times than I'm proud of. And I had to issue a lot of apologies during my time. But the racers were usually awesome. When I would forget and it would fall down, they'd usually catch it and hold it for a minute until it got back up. So I think that might also be one of the reasons I love this truss system, because I don't have to remember a gas can.
Right, yeah, we're all in it together though. So, but one thing here is looks like there's a good bit of a delay here when it comes to the start, and can be challenging for athletes if they have a specific warm-up routine here. Now it seems like a lot of these athletes here have been standing cold for 10 to 15 minutes at this point. So definitely can get pretty challenging to stay loose, stay warm, especially looks like we've got some pretty flat terrain to start off. So I bet you this is going to go out extremely hot. And definitely you see everyone just kind of lifting their legs and, twisting their torso and jumping up and down and just to try to keep that heart rate somewhat elevated. You see this guy here running back and forth underneath the start arch, just trying to not tighten up before he starts his race.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of these delays are unavoidable. It's usually something as simple as maybe some volunteers arrived late and they had a hard time getting them out to the obstacle they were going to be stationed at. in a reasonable amount of time, or maybe during the final safety checks they found something that needed to be reinforced on an obstacle or something. I mean, like, it's always a good reason and it's necessary to hold off just for like the safety and quality of the race itself. But it's definitely frustrating for the athletes because, as you said, they have been doing their warm-ups and they got to stay warm, they got to stay loose, they got to stay stretched. I always said, now is your time to get warmed up, stretched out, fueled up, and hydrated. Prepare your body for the race so it can carry you through the race. And yes, I fall right back into my announcer voice when I do that. But when they have to stand around like this, not only do they start to cool down and maybe tighten up a little, but also, I mean, just to be as baseline, borderline crude, they planned their bathroom breaks before this. Like, there's probably at least one guy out there like, dude, I gotta pee. Like, I mean,
Right.
they plan like these high level elite athletes. They plan everything down to the finest detail to make sure that they are primed for proper performance that day. So these delays can be really killer on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, looks like actually I can't really see it on our screen to the right. I should look a little bit there. Here we go. Let's look. We have the balance beam right here, and my God, that looks pretty high to be standing across.
It
I would
does.
definitely be a little concerned for sure.
That would make me nervous. I've never seen a balance beam structure like that.
Yeah,
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 like
right.
most balance beams
It
I've
goes
seen, they're
up the ramp,
across a
flat, and
wall.
then down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and it
it
looks
looks
like a
like
two by
big step up too. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay. I can't tell what kind of board that is that they'll be walking up. Is that a 2x4? Yeah, so
Looks
that
similar
does
to
look like
yeah.
a that looks like a 2x4 to me.
Maybe a four by
It's either a
four,
two by
maybe a little
four
bit
or a four
thicker.
by four. But yeah, if it is a 2x4, that means there will also be like a not insignificant amount of flexion on it. If you are heavy, or just if you're trying to go fast and you're putting extra force down as you go, so that will add to the difficulty of it. And let me go back to the list. Just before balance beam, they have barbed wire 2 and bender. And I'm not familiar with the bender obstacle. Is there any water involved in that one?
Nope. So no water on the bender obstacle. It's
Okay.
basically like a bunch of it's like monkey bars that go straight up vertically, and then you have to top up and over them. So they're at about like a
Oh, okay.
not quite a 45-degree angle, but maybe somewhere in between there. So it's definitely it's almost like a staircase type of shape.
Okay.
And
Okay. I've seen
you
that.
go
I
up
just
and
didn't
over
know
the
the
top.
name. Okay, so if they do have any water at barbed wire 2, they may still have a bit of slickness to deal with when they get to the balance beam, but hopefully not too much, because that does look like it would be particularly difficult if you have some slickness or fresh mud on your shoes. But as we're seeing here at the start
Yeah.
line, it looks like the drum line is getting going, which I imagine means that we're going to be kicking off really soon. He says, knowing that he has used the phrase "we're kicking off really soon" like 7 times by now, and he's been wrong every time. So maybe this is the time I'll get it right.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a drum line at a Spartan race before, so
Mm-mm.
that's cool. I mean, shout out to
Yeah,
the drummers there. Yeah.
absolutely. I used to.
Maybe
Oh man, I used to beg
maybe
them
they're
for
running an open
dramatic
heat.
things.
Maybe they're running the open heat with the drums. That'd be cool.
That would be. I mean, like I mean, in the States, we've had guys do the whole race with bagpipes and things of the like. So, would not be
Yeah.
unheard of by any means. Like it's actually harder to
Yeah.
find things people haven't carried through a course by now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, speaking of the bagpipe, shout out to everybody who celebrates St. Patrick's Day. I know it's more of a U.S. Ireland-based holiday,
Yeah.
but anybody who might be Irish or celebrating that this weekend, I believe the actual day is tomorrow, but a lot of people celebrating
Yes.
over the weekend here. So, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. I mean, Dustin, there you're wearing your OCR Gives Back shirt in green.
Oh,
So
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely
yeah,
love OCR Gives Back, Steve McCollum, like such a great organization run by such a great guy, and they do amazing work for underprivileged children throughout the world. It's really, really cool. So thank you for pointing that out, giving me a
absolutely.
chance to talk about it. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I always love when they have things like the drum line or just any kind of extra drama at the start line, like the in Tampa, Florida, at Raymond James Stadium, where the Buccaneers play. We had the Spartan SOCOM Special Ops race back in 2014. And for that race, we had not only did we have Admiral McCraven, the guy who orchestrated the missions that took down both bin Laden and Hussein, come out and speak at the event, but they had a retired Spec Ops operator come in and start the race by lighting a fire with a flaming arrow. Like it was so unnecessarily over the top, but it's probably my favorite race I've ever done, just because every single detail was so memorable and it was so cool. So I love when they bring in extra things like the drum line, and especially for something, like the Mexico race, things that are particularly significant to the culture surrounding the event.
All right, so we get some applause coming in from the start line, and then someone else speaking some more and more jumping, which means probably like, let's go. They're trying to get some muscles activated. People getting out of the way. Once everyone leans forward and does this, then we'll know for sure. Justin Manning says, start your.
Oh, there we go. There we go. They are off.
That was quick. Yep. All right.
All right. So the pro men are off. They are on the course.
And these guys look, they're moving fast. I believe the man in the red sleeves is a Eugenio. I believe potentially the man in the red tank top is Ciro. And then I think I did get it right with yellow shoes and red armband is Angel. So some of 3 of our top men that we spoke about early are out in front at the moment. Over here we've got a very wide course, so a lot of room to run, not too much single track, so they can just head out their own pace there. So, but we've got the 4 and the 5 foot wall. Yep. So pretty 1-2 obstacles pretty quickly.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, this is a very wide course, which is something that a lot of venues don't really allow for, and something that really prevents a lot of the major problems that can go wrong in an obstacle course race with things like bottlenecking and the like. And this really seems like a great venue. Like, it's a bit more narrow now as they're on this road at the moment, but you really couldn't ask for a better lane to start, to get everyone spread out a bit more without having to funnel them into a tighter path too quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, yep. So I think we have a look at Eugenio, and then actually now that I look at him a little bit closer, I think in second place right now is going to be Ciro Perez with no shirt on there. And then looks like some of these gentlemen here also have the pro band, which what happens here, in order to qualify to run in this heat, you have to have come in top 3 in your age group last year, or I believe a top 15 in elite last year as well. So you'll notice on what appears to be Ciro's, looks like his left arm, he has a red band, and it says pro band on it, I believe. And I think that's going to be basically his ticket in. Like, they probably put that on there and made sure. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people here know who Ciro Perez is, but I guess he's kudos to him for playing by the rules. Put that band on to get in. Yep. All right, and who's there? Ciro goes, just overtaking Angel, Eugenio.
Oh, now we are definitely getting into the more narrow pathways and more technical running. And whoa, this is an ankle breaker section. This is intense.
Absolutely. And also a good time to shout out our rabbits there that are running with the camera here and giving us this ability to cover the race. So definitely major shout out to them there, because that is not easy. I did that at OCR Worlds, and I think I held on to Ryan Atkins for about 30 seconds during that 3K race, and I was like, oh, and he's gone. And then so it's definitely not easy.
No, I did some rabbiting at World's Toughest Mudder for OCR Report last year, and God, there is no way to adequately convey just how difficult that can be. Like, just in general, but especially trying to keep up with the elites and the pros. And like, I was running alongside Tyler Veerman for a minute. And I mean, first off, like, one of the nicest guys you could ever hope to meet, but he was just jogging along, having a full conversation, and then he was just like, all right, have a good day, bye. And then it was like Looney Tunes, just smoke as he disappeared into the distance. Like, these athletes are absolutely incredible.
He was probably 50 miles in too, or something crazy too, which is always.
Oh yeah, it was at some point, like during the overnight section. It was probably like 4:00 in the morning. No. He was he was out of the race by that point. But yeah, it was pretty like he had at least
Yeah,
30 or 40 miles under him by then, maybe 50.
craziness. Yeah, so um, talking about this race here we have like again we believe that's to be Eugenio and Ciro. Kind of looks like they're going to be working together a little bit, and you'll see that often in a Spartan race, especially only 4 minutes in here. We'll see two, three, four people really work together there, and especially in the early going, and no need to go too crazy in a race that might last more than 75 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know I use this phrase a lot, but it never becomes less true. Things like this I do think is a great example of what makes this sport so special, because they will work together. Like there's not a lot of hate in the competitive groups, even though like they may be very, very, very competitive people, and obviously they probably are, but there is more love and camaraderie than there is contention and negativity among the pros, which I think is really cool.
Absolutely, and as predicted, we have a third gentleman up in this pack now as well, with the back tattoo there that I don't believe we spoke about in our. That is Angel.
Oh, that's on hell.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, actually, okay. Yep. So all right. So we got reports that's Angel, which I couldn't tell from the back view there. So I guess we did talk about him then. And again, one of the favorites to win the race, which I was curious. One thing we do know about Eugenio is that he is extremely fast. He was ahead of VJ Jones during that Mexican Beast last year, I believe, until the swim really caught him up there. He kind of lacks ability to swim there. So, but no swimming for this race for Eugenio. So that's good news for him.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it, and I want to point out something else regarding the rabbits and how difficult that job can be. Like, as we saw when they're going through that really, really narrow, relatively dangerous section, trying to keep up with the top athletes there. Not only are they trying to keep up with the top athletes to gain coverage and get video of them, but they are also in a position where they can't get in the way of the people behind them. So they have to maintain just a crazy speed during those sections. And like, it's basically like a wildlife documentary. You got to be out there to document things, but not get in the way or interfere. And on narrow trackways like that is near impossible to do. So, I mean, like, look at the shadow that we're watching
Right.
here.
Yeah.
Like this person is blazing.
Yeah, no, he is running pretty much a race pace right now to try to catch up to these guys. And I mean, then this also goes back to how fast the athletes are as well. When our rabbits, who are generally really high level, either they're elite athletes themselves or they're really high age group athletes, are struggling to keep up. Right, just really shows that next level. So. Again, thank you so much to the rabbits for allowing us to do this. Otherwise, we'd have just sand to look at and nothing to talk about. So, definitely much appreciated here. And I think, by the way, this might be our first climb of the day. If you look at that map, so nothing too steep, pretty runnable for our top athletes, but it looks like it's really going to be this top three group that I think we're going to be talking about for the majority of our morning here, at least until we get to some action on the women's side.
Yeah, and another quick shout out and some recognition. We just saw some of the volunteers and support staff there at that turn, cheering on the racers, guiding them through. And as I say at every single event I have ever worked, no matter what company it's for, and I've worked for pretty much all of them at this point, the event, the race, the industry, the sport, none of it could exist without the volunteers and support staff. They are what keep the events going. So any chance you ever get to thank them for being there, speaking to the viewers and all, please do, because they don't have to be there. The rewards really are not commensurate with the amount of effort that they put in and the amount of passion that they bring to the event. There's really no way to thank or reward them properly. So any chance you do get to thank them for being there, please do.
Yep, absolutely. Right. I mean, this race alone here has 26 obstacles, which I know things like fire jump don't need a volunteer generally, but I mean, you have a photographer there. But so that right there is at least 26 people, right? If there's one per volunteer for obstacles, so that's important to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we'll end up having like a lot of volunteers signed up, and a lot of them come through like organized clubs, groups, like ROTC programs or things like that. And sometimes when it all comes from one group, sometimes the entire group will just bail without warning, and the event will be left drastically understaffed with volunteers. So the volunteers who did show up will end up having to take on double or triple duty, and between them and the on-site staff that is already there, probably working quadruple duty already. Yeah, it's astounding that these events are able to happen, but as I always say, it only happens because of the passion of the people involved.
Yep, absolutely. Now here looks like we have a pretty gnarly climb with the trail race there. So I'll be curious to see if some of our athletes do end up getting there. But now as we kind of shift back over gears to the Spartan race, and looks like we've got the middle of our pack there, and now it looks like we're going to be probably heading back to pick up some of the women. But as we noted there, we probably dropped off from the men probably around the 8-minute mark. So those three top men that we saw running in a pack together there have already put 2+ minutes on some of the other elite level athletes that they started with. So who also are wearing those pro bands that I mentioned earlier. So really shows that those top three are kind of in a class of their own.
Yeah, absolutely are. Absolutely are.
But again, still a lot to fight for. Some of those athletes we're talking about there. We still have the top 20 spots earning points today, and the top 20 spots also getting a ticket to the Pan American Championships, which will be in Seattle in September.
Yeah, I think one of the other biggest in any other sport, I would say obstacles, but difficulties maybe for a lot of these athletes is for a big championship series like this, or a full continent, North American. I think that like one of the big things that's going to be difficult to train for is the sheer difference in weather, because obviously Seattle's going to be at least slightly different than Mexico and what they are what they are able to prepare for. And I do think, honestly, I don't know whether it would be more difficult to go from a colder climate and race in a warmer one, or a warmer climate and race in a cold one.
Yeah, it really can be hit or miss. I mean, right now a lot of the country is going to be very, very cold. So coming down to a race that looks pretty warm can be challenging on the energy levels. So here we got our look at the monkey bars there. Obstacle 5 of 26 already. So 11 minutes in. Got to imagine they're probably about 1.5 miles into the course already. So like I said, this was and definitely apologies for still getting this wrong, but this appears to be Ciro Perez. And then it looks like Eugenio was right with him in that frame as well before we cut out a little bit there. But we got a nice view of that obstacle before we did cut out.
And we've been pretty lucky so far when it comes to actually maintaining signal for the coverage as well, because like a lot of these venues, they're in such remote areas. Sometimes for the broadcast, no matter how much preparation and effort you put into it, there's just no way to actually get a broadcast signal out. So this has been really, really nice so far, that we've really only had that one little hiccup so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we even saw it with my Wi-Fi earlier being a little bit spotty here in New Jersey. So definitely. Now, thankfully, since I've moved my location, it seems to be okay on my end, thankfully.
It's definitely seemed to stabilize a good bit more for you, which is
perfect.
Super, super handy. I do not want to be doing this on my own. I mean, like I said in the beginning, I haven't worked for Spartan Race in some time, nor have I been to one of their events in some time. I still work in OCR, but just not with Spartan. So a lot of the intricacies of the points and the series and all that, I would not be nearly familiar with. So you are my best source of information, and I'm just the layman who asks you the questions to help bring me and everyone else up to speed. And if it was just me out here, like I said in the pre-show, it would just be me over here going like, look, this guy's got the zoomies. This is fun. Look at him go. I hope he's having a great day. I hope you get
Yeah,
points.
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, and then so we have a good look at Olympus there, which looking at, let me take a quick peek over at our obstacle order there. Yep, that is right after
Hmm.
barbed wire, which is right after
Hmm.
the monkey bars that we've already seen. So I have to
Yeah.
imagine that our top men will be coming through that area shortly. Now, in typical fashion, usually the women start 15 minutes after the men. So now we are
Hmm.
14 minutes in. Speaking of the men, here they come up another pretty steep section. Um, but it's just amazing that, I mean, these top men here have not broken into a power hike even once yet.
Yeah. Neither has our rabbit.
Right. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
like,
he's even doing this thing right now where he's running with his shoulder turned.
yeah.
So that's not easy either. And looks like it is crossing over the trail race here as well. And
Mhm.
definitely kudos to the trail athletes there for understanding that they should be getting out of the way for this important race. I think they're typically briefed on that before they start a
Mhm.
race. Same thing if you do any beast race when there's also an ultra going on. If you see the
Mhm.
people in purple pennies, definitely get out of the way, especially if they have one of those white lap leader pennies on for lap 2 of that
Yeah.
ultra. But in this case, they probably were told if anybody coming through looking like a shirtless fast dude with a red headband on, they're probably doing pretty well, and
Yeah.
please get out of their way. But then also the
If you
athletes
see a
too.
shirtless guy with a red headband and black shorts, probably a pro.
Yep, right. And but also the athletes who are running here as well are also briefed on making sure they're using good etiquette as well, saying on the left,
Mhm.
excuse me, please, and not being rude for lack of better words,
Yeah.
is really important too. All right, so here we have yep. So this is definitely on hell here. Um, Not sure if Eugenio has dropped off this group here, or if because it looks like I just see two gentlemen there, and I believe that's still Ciro. So unsure who else we've got there in the mix, but looks like we've got Ciro and Angel really working together here.
Yeah, I would be really curious to know more about what this venue is normally used for, because like those roads that have those deep ruts in there would incline me to think that this might be like a sometimes used as like a dirt bike track or a mountain bike track, or
Yeah,
maybe like an
would have
off-road
to
center. I don't know.
Yeah, I would have to imagine you could really rip some really if you're into that sort of thing, you could really rip it on a some sort of mountain bike or dirt, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a motorcyclist, so that's just where my brain goes immediately every single time.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
to
well,
see
we
terrain,
can
I'm like,
definitely
wait, I want to ride that.
yeah. Yeah, could definitely guess it's probably not skiing in this area. I don't think they get much. They don't get any snow, if I had to imagine.
Hmm.
Even though it is still, I mean, it's 48 degrees here, so I mean, I could see it getting maybe low enough for snow in some parts of the winter, but um, definitely not now.
Yeah, well, I mean, like if they got snow in Hawaii, it can happen anywhere.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah, Hawaii is the only place that has uh, every kind of climate zone in the world all in one technical state, just because of how much elevation difference they have there. It's one
Yeah,
of my weird fun facts
absolutely.
that I love.
Yes.
God, this rabbit is booking it.
Yeah, no, good on him because,
Yep.
like we mentioned before, I mean, we looked at the stats earlier. I mean, Angel and Ciro both with 3 Spartan race wins, more than 5 podiums last year, and that's not nothing for sure. So the fact that we've gotten as much coverage as we've gotten, I mean, we've got a really
Mm.
great rabbit here on our hands. So definitely
Yep.
kudos to this person here.
Yeah, and also like if you can hear us, rabbit friend, sorry we don't know your name, but you're doing a great job. And also, I want to commend you for being courteous to the other runners and not just pushing them out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also really hard to control that gimbal, and he's doing a great job with that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. This is the kind of task that you really can't appreciate the difficulty of until you've been the one to do it.
Yes, absolutely. And now here we got the spear throw, and as we were, or well, first Olympus, then spear throw. But going to that spear throw, looks like we don't have that circle I was talking about in the
Mm-hmm.
pre-show, so that will be beneficial to some of our athletes. Um,
Yeah.
I have to imagine we're likely to get a higher success rate, but you really never know. Some days it's a good spear day, some days it's a bad spear day. So we'll find out once Ciro and Angel come through. But these are our two most experienced gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to imagine that they probably have a good chance of hitting, especially with it being looks like it's still pretty dry, pretty early in the course. So I definitely like their odds here. Now we have a look at the man in the red arm sleeves, which is Eugenio. Now Eugenio, not unsure exactly what kind of gap we have between Ciro and Angel and Eugenio.
Yeah,
We've
and
got
once
some
they
yellow tape. Yeah, huh. We've got some yellow tape there, which is very strange in the course marking. I don't
yeah.
know if Eugenio hopped off course for a second there, or if there was just some weird marking because of the trail race. But he didn't look confused, so I'll have to imagine he's still going the right way.
Yeah, it could just be marking for another event that they were made aware of at the beginning, if this venue is multi-purpose.
Yeah, but generally not usually
But
a good sign if you have to hop over any tape. So that's always something you want to keep an eye on. But
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. But I've also found that like announcing at start lines and stuff and trying to let people know about course marking and tape and everything. And I do not mean to imply that this is what happened to him. Sometimes people will just assume it's a hurdle. Like I have seen a dude just jump over race tape and run off into the woods. I had to drop my microphone and go chase him down. And it is amazing like what can happen when you are just zoned out, focusing on the run, and you'll just disappear into the wilderness. But yeah, they are making it to Olympus now, obstacle 7 of
yep.
26. And after they do the spear throw, they will be roughly 1/3 of the way through the obstacles, not necessarily 1/3 of the way through the distance of the course. But I am not doing the math on that.
Yep. So here they go with the spear throw. Let's see. Here goes Angel giving it a toss, and he's in. Angel is in. Ciro is miss. So this is a big turning point in the race here.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see the dark red tape, and now Ciro has to run through that dark red tape as his penalty. Now, Dustin mentioned before some burpees, which are no longer in play anymore. It's all penalty loops now. So we'll see what kind of penalty Ciro gets, but with Angel's ability here, I have to imagine it's going to be key because we don't even see Ciro quite at the plate drag yet, which Angel has already completed. Now the question is, will Eugenio be able to catch up? Because I believe I want to say it's going to be number 1 Angel, number 2 Ciro, number 3 Eugenio, who's just completed Olympus. So now he's coming up over to spear throw. It looks like we have some confused athletes. Speaking of confused athletes, with those tires on the ground that they kind of had to just hop over. They seem to be a little bit like, wait, what? Am I going the right way still? Like,
yeah.
So.
And this is another reason that those volunteers and support staff are so essential to make sure to be able to explain these things and to cut down on that confusion. And that volunteer looked to be doing a great job keeping the athletes informed.
Absolutely. And then I'll be curious to see also who we have in 4th and 5th place, which looks like we have another athlete here coming off of Olympus. So like another 1-2 athletes here. So unsure who those gentlemen are, but those look to be our 4 and 5 place men. So they're maybe 15 to 20 seconds behind Eugenio, so definitely still anyone's race, especially with that spear throw that's come up there. All right. Yep.
Yeah,
so here
absolutely.
So here we have Angel, just completely on his own there. So I mean, aside from that balance beam, if he runs this way, I could see Angel really running away with this race. I mean, Angel is just super capable. He's been doing Spartan races since 2014, been at many start lines. I think he's definitely had a couple of top 10 finishes at World Championship as well. So definitely not new here, and definitely very comfortable running out in front for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like the if there is a place where I do think that a switch up could happen, it would probably be where we were talking about earlier. Since neither of us is really familiar with what splash sprint means, if there is a lot of water there and wetness that can get on the hands and all, having to go from that straight to rope climb and herc hoist, that could be a bit of a difficulty and a chance for some of the other athletes to catch up if it doesn't go on Hell's
Mhm.
way.
Yeah, and it looks like Angel is running into a lot of congestion on the trail course, which not something I love to see. Honestly, I would have preferred probably, especially if it was a tighter race here, to see maybe the Spartan race folks go before the trail folks, just that way things like this didn't happen. Because A, you don't want to worry about the competitiveness of the race being compromised, but also you don't want to worry about the people who are just trying to run their trail race also having compromised experience because you got someone, yelling, "Get out of my way on the left,"
Yeah,
things like that.
and
So, yeah,
I mean, and even beyond that, having the congestion on the course can slow people down, but there's no way to make the congestion uniform so that every competitor has the same kind of difficulty or congestion or backup or kinds of things. So that makes the playing field a bit unlevel. So I would have also liked to have seen that, but he's really blazing through, and I'm sure that the other athletes will do the same. And as we've pointed out before, a lot of the trail runners are being very courteous and standing to the side when they hear someone coming. But there is always the chance that someone is just going to be a bit selfish and maintain their position and get in the way.
yeah.
But hopefully that
And now
doesn't
one thing we
happen.
have, yeah, now one thing we have that's a little bit strange, seems a little bit strange here is looks like we may have some more male athletes getting on the 4 and 5 foot wall, which I believe is going to be the age group heat. So we have not talked to the women at all, and not doing any disservice to the women's race, but we just haven't seen the women yet. So would definitely be curious to see what's going on that end. But hopefully soon enough we'll be able to get some cameras on some women here. But it looks like we have some more men, which I have to imagine our age group, because as we were talking about in the pre-show, we have in 2024, there's no age group in elite and regular everyday weekend races. Your Boston race and your New Jersey race and things like that.
Yeah,
But here at the National Series, we do have elite and age groups separated with separate points and separate standings for those groups.
yeah. Yeah, I would be very interested to. There
Oh,
we
well,
go. There's the
speaking of
women.
women, I was calling
Yes,
for them. There they
perfect.
go.
Yep,
Yep.
the pro women are out there on the course, and the pro women, the elite women, the competitive women. They were always my favorite group to announce for because, like, so many of the men, they are incredible athletes and they do take it very seriously. But I found that when I was announcing and engaging with the pro women, they usually had all of the same athleticism and dedication, but they also were not shy about having an absolute great time. And they always had such incredible sportsmanship and camaraderie and just a huge sense of fun in what they did. And then they go out there and just do these impossible things right after, just having a silly, goofy, fun time at the start. And I always really loved and admired that. And even back at OCRWC last year, where I was announcing with the competitive women, we had a seating system where they had the top athletes, arranged like we'd send 10 out at a time. And even though they had been seated and arranged according to their history, their points, what they, had already done, there was one group where some of the women said, no, 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 we shouldn't be here, she should, and they gave up their spot to bring another woman up and allow her to run in their position, and then they went off next. And it doesn't really change anything in the overall, but the fact that they cared enough and had such camaraderie and sportsmanship to even consider that as a possibility, that is one of the things that has always made me just love and appreciate the pro women as probably one of my favorite groups.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, now here we see, yes, we got the 4 foot 5 foot wall, and then now looks like we go into some hurdles here, which we didn't see the men get to overcome there. Still got a little bit of a choppy signal there now,
Mm.
unfortunately, but so unclear on names there. But let's see. Looks like this might be our first place here.
I think we may have just seen Dulce Velasquez Flores for a
Okay.
very brief moment. But it was as the camera froze, so I'm not exactly sure what position she was in.
Yes, and I'm gonna go back to our our images of these women here to see if I can compare that we have on our screen also. So, but because I think I'm feeling pretty confident in nailing those top 3 men there based on what
Mm-hmm.
they're wearing. So hopefully we can get similar recognition to some of our female athletes who are out here.
Yeah, but I just want to imagine for a second the level of stress this rabbit is under trying to run through that narrow path before the women catch it, or her. I don't know if this is the same rabbit
Yeah.
we were working with earlier.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, they are ahead of the women, waiting for the women to get through and catch up. And gee, just imagine trying to outrun them, knowing fully what they're capable of. That I would be out of my mind with anxiety. I mean, I usually am, but
Here we go.
specifically there.
Okay. So if I had to make a prediction now, like I said, I'm still not. I think the woman in the red shirt is going to be Isabel Bolivar. That seems to be. And then I believe in second place in the black top, I believe is going to be Dulce Velasquez Flores behind Isabel. So we have Isabel currently
Okay.
projections. Isabel number 1, Dulce number 2 currently. And looks like Isabel is just an incredible climber. I mean, you see her with those short, choppy steps that are very fast turnover, but also very powerful as well. And really,
Yeah.
like I said, really just she's running on her toes, which really strains the calves. So she must really do a lot of incline work in her everyday training because she looks just comfortable on this uphill.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just want to go ahead and remind everyone once again, we are doing a dual language simulcast with the OCR report. Obviously, we are the English speaking team, but also there is a Spanish speaking team doing commentary. And you can find them on the OCR report YouTube, or you can get the link through the OCR report Instagram.
Yep, absolutely. Great shout out there, right? Yes, because of course, a lot of our viewers here who are interested in this race may be speaking Spanish. So, definitely want everyone to be able to get our great commentary, which I'm sure that team is doing a phenomenal job as well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I have no doubt of that. I wish I spoke more Spanish so I could go back and watch their coverage after we were done. But that is
absolutely.
A gap.
Yeah, definitely a lot different than our men's race. Yeah. Isabel. Assuming this is Isabel, definitely she is really putting in some work here. So the question is, not knowing anything about this athlete, is she going out too hot? Is she a really strong climber? Maybe she struggles on obstacles. We see that more often in the women's races than we do the men, where we have a really, really strong run. We've actually, I think we've had more women with really strong running pedigrees. Trying to think. I think it was like Renee something, I believe. She was an Olympic runner, and she would always be out way in front of like Lindsay and Nicole even, and then just be really struggling. And here we have her. Looks like she is starting to slow down a good bit. Taking a couple of walking strides.
She had a little stumble there for a brief moment.
Yeah. Yep. So, but not a bad strategy. I do use this strategy as well in my races here, where I might do 10 to 20 steps of walking, power hiking, and then 10 to 20 steps of running. Because it's exhausting, and sometimes you can actually save some energy, and B, even if you're taking.
Hey, Tyler, if you are still with us, I think you cut out for a minute there. If you could go back and explain a bit more of what you were saying about taking the 10 or 20 steps and how it buys you a little bit more time. Or you can't hear me at all. Okay, we are back here with the men. Okay, so it is 33 minutes into the pro men's race, and I'm not quite sure where they are. I'm checking the obstacle list right now so that hopefully we can kind of nail down exactly the position they are in. Oh, and we are back with the women. 7 minutes and 19 seconds into the women's race, and she is picking up speed. The incline has flattened out a good bit, and she is looking strong. She is going fast, and I will be very curious to see just how much distance there is between her and second place.
Yes, and sorry about the interruption there, Dustin and team. Google Chrome decided to quit. Unlike these racers, they're not quitting, but Google Chrome decided to quit here. So, but we've done a few burpees. We took the penalty loop, and we're back.
Google Chrome had to stop for those 10 or 20 walking steps, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it looks like we're back on a pretty steady incline again. So, if you want to go back and explain what you were saying about your strategy with the 10 or 20 steps and like the benefit that brings you.
Yeah. So, if you're walking 10 to 20 steps, with a larger stride length, you can really gain some energy back, lower your heart rate a little bit, and then keep in control. Especially when you're looking at your watch here, only 7 or 8 minutes into a race, and you're like, okay, I'm going to be out here for an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. I definitely need to save some energy for later in the course, so I don't want to burn out too much here. Especially when you're talking about an athlete who again appears to be Isabel here, who seems to have a substantial lead on second place right now. So you could definitely take that strategy into account there with such a large lead.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was never a competitive racer or runner. My athletic background was always in martial arts and fighting. So getting to learn more about strategies and like running styles and techniques and little tricks like that, I find completely fascinating. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one who does. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and
you see
geez,
here,
we cannot even see second place.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, I'm now very interested in this athlete. Like I said, this is one of the benefits of doing this race, where we may not have as many of our household names, especially on the women's side here, that we get to see an athlete like, who again appears to be Isabel. They're really just shining right now. And now, if we, when we get the pleasure to do, hopefully the Pan American Championships, and hopefully she's there, and we get to really see her square up against some of those top athletes from the other parts of North America.
Yeah, and hey, well, first off, did you see that incredible view that the camera picked up? This place is gorgeous. But also, anybody who's watching this on YouTube and is in the chat and everything, if you are more familiar with these athletes than we are, and you find that we do call someone by the wrong name, please point it out. And we can't see the comments while we're doing commentary, but our producer can, and I have nothing but full confidence that he will let us know if someone points out that we're calling someone the wrong name. So if we do get a name wrong, please let us know, because we want to show respect to these athletes, call them by the correct name, and make sure that they get all of the recognition that they deserve.
Absolutely. That's a great shout out there. And now we go back to the men here. So unsure if we still have Angel with a large gap given.
El obstáculo. Sí. Es que ahí ya bajaron al cráter, ¿no? Sí, ya lo.
Was hearing some discussion there in Spanish about. Yeah, I heard Trace, so I wasn't sure if that maybe someone was trying to tell us maybe that person was in third place. But that's maybe all I got out of that. Like I said, I mean, I took Spanish in high school. That's about as far as I made it. So that's been
I did too. But I took a very quick. I gave a lot of attention to what we were hearing there, because I thought it may have been someone giving us information or correcting. But I think that they were just talking to someone else, and that wasn't necessarily for us.
Yes. Okay. Yep. And here we have some age group athletes. Now, these age group athletes are competitive on their own, and very, 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 very strong. Put a lot of time and dedication and money into this sport here. But you see, even just the difference there compared to our top elite men is just, I mean, the walking between obstacles, things to that nature. A lot of failures on the spear, so that you could definitely see there the big difference there between the elite and the age group categories.
Yeah. Now, pardon me if you've already explained this, and just pardon my ignorance for being out of the Spartan game for a long time. Do you have to qualify to run for age group?
In this race, you do not.
Okay.
I believe you do have to qualify if you want to run at the Pan American Championship in age group or in Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
But I do not believe you have to qualify for this race for age group.
Okay, cool.
We got a
Yeah, I think
pretty gnarly
this is
climb
a
here.
great contrast. Yeah. Yeah, this is a great contrast to see just how wildly impressive the top pro men really are. Because the people we're watching right now, it's not like this is their first thing they've ever done. It's not like they haven't trained. They've put in plenty of work, and this just highlights just how difficult this part of the course is. Whereas when we saw the pros come through, they were blazing through, and it's difficult to lose. I mean, it's very easy to lose sight of just how difficult some of these things are when watching such incredible athletes doing them.
Yeah, and one
Which is
thing
why
I'm a
I'm such
little
a big
bit
advocate for that idea of in the Olympics, just put one normal guy in there, just so I can see how much better these other people are. I just want to see one normal guy trying the 100-meter, like just stumbling along. And I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, yeah. One thing I'm a little bit confused about here as well is it looks like we may have gotten some age group men before the elite women for one reason or another. So, unfortunately, it's going to cause a lot of congestion here for our top women. Um, oh, okay. Well, all right. Well, hey, that's definitely I'd say that's definitely worth it then for sure to
Yeah.
get to capture,
Yeah.
especially how well.
Yeah,
Oh,
we just got word that the age group men may have been sent out because they needed a bit more time to get the rabbit back to the start line to catch the launch of the pro women, which makes perfect sense. But and just like the delays at the start we were talking about earlier, how they can be really frustrating, but oftentimes are so unavoidable. Things like that, it makes sense to keep the flow of the race going. But the competitive, the pro, the elite women, whatever you want to call them, regardless of what race series you're in, they are always at least some level of disadvantage because they will never have an empty course ahead of them. They will always be passing people, whether it's the competitive men in front of them, whether it's an age group. And that has been a point of discussion and annoyance and controversy for a lot of the competitive women because, like I said, they will never have an empty course, and that can be rather unfair to a lot of them. And it's something that a lot of races and event series really need to consider a bit more heavily as they plan how the events will go.
absolutely. And here we have Angel completing Bender, obstacle 13, and pretty easily there. So I'm just kind of now at this point, I'm a little curious on the clock there. So he completed that obstacle right around the 41:06 mark. So I'll be curious to see when second place may come through this obstacle and see what kind of gap Angel has built up for himself here. But he seems to be well on his own at this point.
Yeah, and as Bender is obstacle number 13, he is officially halfway finished with the obstacles, not necessarily halfway finished through the course. And as we've talked about before, the finish line sequence will have just a massive concentration of obstacles there at the end. So obstacle number is not a good way to judge distance through the course, but that is the halfway point as far as the obstacles go.
Although honestly, though, there's probably a really strong chance he is more than halfway through the distance of the course because there are so many obstacles towards the end. If we look at our map there, I'm gonna kind of cheat here a little bit and go and head on back over to the map there. Looks like obstacle 13. Ooh, it's a little bit blurry here on my end there. That might have been right around. Let's see, obstacle 13. Yep. So that's actually right around the 7-kilometer mark is what it looks like here on my end. So, however, there's a solid 1 kilometer all the way until obstacle 14, and then almost another kilometer till obstacle 15. And then starting with obstacle 16, that's when he gets towards that last stretch of the course. So, yes, I'll be curious to see how much distance he has between those obstacles, and also what kind of running he has too. He may looks like he has at least one more really solid climb to complete first. So I'll be curious to see how he does, especially time wise.
Yeah. Yeah, 43 minutes in and roughly 3 kilometers left to go.
Yep. So kind of as figured, I'm
Yeah.
still imagining he may be somewhere pretty close to that 1 hour mark as far as finishing time,
Mm-hmm.
which is an incredible time for a super. That's especially a super with any sort of technicality or elevation in it for sure. And speaking of our leaders, here we have once again we believe this to be Isabel still. Is Isabel in the red shirt there? I mean, interesting look too with her the long sleeve she's got going on. And they're still not rolled up or anything like that. So I would have had to imagine she's getting pretty warm, especially considering now at this point it's 9:15. The course is oh, we got the weather again here. Yep. So now we got feels like 54 degrees when it felt like 46 degrees when we first started speaking on the weather there. So definitely a good bit warmer, but still sleeves not rolled up or anything. But hey, whatever makes you comfortable.
Yeah. So, well, when I see things like that, it always makes me a little bit curious because I I tend to overheat faster when the sun touches my skin, so I am a very big fan of long sleeves, long pants on the really hot, well, on the sunny hot days. If it's just hot in general, no matter whether you're in the sun or not, it doesn't matter. But I find that I tend to have to keep my skin more covered if I want to stay cool, and I don't know if that's the reason that she is doing it, but at roughly 54 degrees, it really could go either way on that because that's still not too warm. But you are doing a 10-kilometer race with a lot of elevation change and some pretty bright sun, even though the weather forecast that we just saw does have it listed as cloudy. If this is cloudy in this area, oh my God, can you imagine what full sun would be?
Yeah, right, for sure. And who knows, we might end up seeing some of our open racers later in the afternoon here really getting a pretty hot day. So that's definitely something to keep in
Yeah.
mind if you're ever doing a Spartan race in general. It could be a lot different compared to when the elites are starting versus when a lot of the open people are starting, especially in those longer races when they're out there all day long too.
Yeah. And especially when it's a race like this where it may be a bit cooler in the morning and get hotter as the day goes. Look, I love the spirit of that staff member cheering them on. Absolutely love that. But where there's a race where the temperature and overall feel, humidity, sun, cloud, etc., can all be changing and make it a lot easier to overheat throughout the day. It's the reason that I will inevitably, until my dying breath, preach hydration every chance I get, and how important it is to never skip one of the water stations.
Yep, absolutely. Here we have some pretty aggressive descending for Isabel as we cut back to Angel, 46 minutes into his course. Um, you know, we got more staff members cheering him on, which is love to see that, and he's really picking up speed. And then back to Isabel once again there. And another good shot of that rabbit, really working hard to stay in front of her.
And another thing that he's doing is he is announcing her presence to the people that are in front of him doing the trail run and such. And he's doing his best to not only get good coverage of our top of the pro women, but also trying to clear the course for her. Like that is excellent foresight and a great effort. Like cannot commend this rabbit enough.
Absolutely, and definitely love the production here on the screen currently here, where we've got Isabel on the screen, but then we also have a little bit of a view of what's going on with the men here in Angel. But it looks like Angel is just really on his own track there, so definitely a little more interested in the women's race at the moment here. But it appears as though Angel probably cleared the balance beam at this point, which is one of the points of contention. Not sure if he has. I'm assuming he still has to do the splash sprint, which we're really unfamiliar with that obstacle, at least in terms of its name. So we're curious to get a look at that. Hopefully we can once he arrives there. But yeah, a lot of just kind of open running right now we have on the course on both sides.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see just how much distance there is between the first and second place for the women, because we already know that Angel is is out in the lead, has taken a massive lead, and nobody is really close behind him. But it's a bit harder to tell with the women because there are already so many people kind of congested on this part of the course. And at these quick cursory glances that we do get behind her, it's hard to tell if it is someone who is gaining or closing that gap, or if she does still have that massive lead that she had in the beginning.
All right, and looks like we have a look at Angel completing Stairway to Sparta, which is obstacle 15. And now looking back at our map again here, so between obstacle 13 and obstacle 15, it's only been for Angel about 7 minutes, and there appears to be right around approximately 1.5K or so between those two obstacles. So you know, definitely 7 minutes for 1.5K is not easy to do on a track.
No, I was just sitting here thinking, could I even do that on a treadmill? Like, jeez.
Yeah, let alone with
nice job on
and,
yeah,
and the
an elevation change in the weather, and
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, as I was just saying, like we just got a pretty clear view of a good distance behind our top of the pro women right there, and it looks like there's nobody there.
Yep.
Looks like there was a very major gap between first and second place.
Yeah. Here we have another woman who we don't think we've talked about just yet there, but not too sure exactly where she's located there. And it looks like she's not on our. This woman here might not be on our sheet there for the top 5 predictive, which is I mean, definitely love to see that for sure, because we definitely always want to see new people in the mix. So
yeah.
If we might be able to get a name on her, that if she's one of our leaders, that'd be great.
Yeah, it really would. And as I said before, if you have just joined us in the past few minutes, if you are more familiar with any of these athletes than we are, and you find that we don't know someone's name or have called someone by the wrong name, please let us know in the chat on YouTube. We can't see the comments for YouTube, but our producer can, and we have full faith that he will let us know if someone corrects us, and we'll be very open to being corrected, because we want to give these athletes the respect and the recognition that they deserve. So thanks in advance for that. Don't be shy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Here we have Angel. So Angel is now approaching the Z wall, which is obstacle 16.
And it looks to be sponsored by Gatorade.
Yes. In the U.S.,
I have to shout out the
sure
only logo I immediately recognize.
Right, and he clears that with relative ease. Some of the Z wall. Yeah, some of the Z wall there has actually lately had 4 or 5 panels instead of just 3, and sometimes they'll have monkey bars or rope grips. But in this case, looks to be the Z wall of old, and just the three panels. So generally, that is not too much of a challenge on a dry day for our elite athletes.
Yeah, well, still, that's probably Z wall 2.0, because the original was just the solid wall instead of having that gap in the middle, and people took a lot of comfort in being able to lean on that section, and that only lasted about 6 months as a Z wall design before they did a quick redesign and took out that central portion.
Yeah, well, back when I first started doing Spartan races, they had it was just called the traverse wall, no Z wall, just straight across. But now we've got kind of that replaced by Olympus now.
Yeah, well, that was back in the days when people on site had a lot more input and influence over course design. Now they have like teams of course designers who design everything in an office, and there's teams of architects and engineers who help with the obstacles and everything. But back when I started working at Spartan, and for like the first few years, it was basically just a bunch of dorks figuring out things in the woods as we went. And I mean that with all of the affection in the world. It was fantastic. And I'm fairly certain that the original Z wall was just somewhat like one of the braces broke for one of the traverse walls. So like, what if you just put them together? Yeah, okay, why not? Let's do it. And it caught on and became a whole thing. And like, don't necessarily quote me on that. I may be wrong, but I think that may have been how it happened back in like 2013, 14, one of those.
Hey, some of the best innovations happen by accident. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was there for what they don't have them anymore, but they used to call it the Founders Race series, where they would basically just take the team, give us all a bunch of chainsaws, and say, go cut down trees and build a course out of them. And first one was in Indiana back in 2012. And rope climb for that one was taking the biggest trees we could, having ratchet straps do a cross between a set of 4 trees and doing a bit more bracing and then hanging ropes from that. So like as you were climbing, it would like shake and bounce and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it was sketchy. It was really sketchy, but it was fun. And like now it's definitely more industrial, more professional, more safe, and more easy to replicate. But there was a special magic in those old days when you didn't know if you'd die or not.
Yeah.
Oh, this rabbit's on a motor. Oh, I hope this rabbit's on a motorcycle because that's just cool.
Yeah, I mean, that would be very impressive if he's running this fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's either a motorcycle or a quad.
Oh, right. Yeah, we got some. Oh, right. Yeah. So the production there is letting us know that the rabbit's taking a motorcycle. Try.
Oh,
yeah,
it's a
there's
quad.
the ATV.
Okay.
It's quad. Yep. That way we also
Yep.
don't kick up dirt in the athlete's face. So, all right. So now we have Angel hitting the sandbag area. Oh, actually, wow. We thought we were over here thinking that there was a much larger lead between Angel and Ciro than there really is. I have to say that's got to be only like 20 to 30 seconds, which is still significant, but not nearly the lead we were talking about.
Yeah, and like look at the speed with which Ciro just took off holding that sandbag. Like he is still running strong. Like there is still definitely a chance for a switch up between first and second place.
Yeah, no, he's definitely tasting some blood in the water, especially. And so, and now here, this is honestly probably one of Angel's first looks, knowing there's a guy near him, because when you're in the lead like that, and you can't, you're instructed really, you don't want to look behind you because it's going to slow down your pace, so you can't really see where the other person is. So having that look at them on a switchback is going to be really helpful for Angel. But he's already down with the sandbag there at 55:27, so we may be able to get a timestamp if we are able to see when Ciro puts the bag down.
Yeah, and just like how useful this quad is for our rabbit. I just want to point out that I volunteered to bring my dirt bike to a race last year to Rabbit, and this is proof of concept. So I think we should do that this year.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh, that would be fun. That would be way too much fun.
Yeah. Looks like,
and it would keep me from having to run 16 miles.
Right. Looks like we're starting to see some spectators on course as well. So we have to imagine that Angel and Ciro are both approaching the finish area there, the festival area, at 56 mid time wise.
Yeah, and it looks like your initial estimate of being around 1 hour finish could turn out to be really accurate. And yeah, we are definitely approaching the finish line sequence and the festival area. And yeah, this should be a pretty exciting few minutes for us right here. And this is the Turquoise. So we didn't get to see whatever splash sprint was. Maybe we'll be able to see that with the women, or just in general after the top pro men have made it through. But and they are on the Turquoise at the same time. Oh, this is close. This is close.
Yeah.
Angel has got to be feeling the pressure right now.
Yeah, especially coming down to the wire as well. Okay, so here's the rope climb.
Okay, so things are a little bit out of order as compared to what we have on our map.
Right. Yes. Maybe we're gonna get the splash sprint a little bit later. So we'll see here. All right. So here goes. There's the rope climb. Pretty
old school with
the water.
Yeah, and pretty old school with the padding that they have there. The hay bales as opposed to the crash mats that we see at a lot of other events. Which
All right. Here's our first look. Here's our first look at the aquatic multi-rig, and so it looks to be a pretty standard multi-rig. The rings are different strap lengths, which is interesting. So he can pick his path there wisely, but it's over water. He has to keep his knees up to avoid hitting the water. I have to imagine that maybe some incidental contact probably okay the water. I know we're a little sideways at the moment, but Angel, given the experience he has, didn't seem to have too much challenge here. And that's the thing when you're chasing a guy like Angel, who has probably over 100 Spartan races under his belt, that the odds of him making a mistake are pretty low.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said earlier, I thought the only chance for a switch up may have been during the splash sprint if that did have water in it like we expected, and if that caused like grip issues later. But looks like that is not the case. He is going strong. He maybe no, not quite all the way through yet. Well, since we have this little bit of a signal issue right here, I didn't want to say still going strong if he had already made it through to the finish, but still got a couple of obstacles left. But hopefully we can get that signal reestablished and see him as he crosses the finish line and see just how close Ciro ends up being to all of that.
Yep. So, and looks like we've got a frozen shot of him hitting the slip wall there, which is obstacle 22. So he's getting pretty close to the end there.
No, this would be the. I think this would be the capital. No. Yeah, I don't actually know which obstacle that was because we saw him go over the slip wall already, but that obstacle didn't look familiar to me. Because capital A-frame would have been the cargo. Oh, that was the inverted wall, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was the other side of the inverted wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I should have, if it was possible, I should have put money line down on this hour time. Oh well, look at this. This little
That's cool.
underneath here.
Yeah. I mean, the obstacle is literally called slide under the truck.
Right.
Yeah. You know what? Like, that's got to be a local sponsor, like an automotive sponsor, and that is such a cool way to mix sponsor branding into an obstacle. I love that. That's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like when we used to get sponsors from like car companies, car dealerships, that kind of thing, they would usually just, come park a couple of vehicles in the festival area, but actually mixing it into one of the obstacles in the finish line sequence, that's genuinely ingenious. That is great planning for sponsorship satisfaction and just a really cool visual for spectators and a fun new thing for participants as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we got a pretty big climb on the women's end here. Have to imagine that who we believe to be Isabel is still out in front. So, but this woman here might be second or third. However, it seems like she's getting trapped a little bit by some of the age group men here, which is impressive for her to be, catching up to some of these men who started 15 minutes ahead of her. But also, she may be having a hard time because you have to expend energy every time you go to pass somebody. So the fact that she has to pass all of these men to keep making strides forward can definitely be taking a lot out of her for sure, as she seems to be, on a walk hike at this point, pace wise.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was mentioning earlier. How much of a disadvantage a lot of the female athletes can be put into just because they will never be able to have a completely clear course in front of them.
Yep,
which feels very, very unfair. But I also don't really know a good. I don't know a good solution. It's a problem.
Yeah.
It's not fair, but also I can't figure out a good solution for it. But I really hope that someone can, and I'm sure that plenty of people are thinking about it and working on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. The only real solution, we'd almost have like separate days. But like here would be a time where I feel like this woman here could really maybe even just like say on your left or excuse me to those people who are walking in front of her. But seems like she's choosing to catch her breath here and maybe be able to rip some of the section that's ahead of her, the downhill portion.
Yeah, well, like I've worked some events, some races where they will just put like a full hour between the competitive men and the competitive women so that there will be much more open space on the course. But at the size of some of these events and the amount of racers that they have to get through by the end of the day, sometimes that's not always feasible. And obstacle racing really isn't that much of a profitable sport. So you're kind of limited by that because you have to get a certain number of people through. Otherwise, you won't be able to pay your staff or anything. But if that kind of thing could happen more often and there was a way to make that sustainable from a business standpoint, that would be fantastic. But I know that that's not always a realistic approach.
Yep. And then here she goes, kind of picking it back up into a run with another gentleman there, which also not a bad thing for the women that they might get to do is they might get to lump onto a age group male who might be going their pace. So can always try to pace with them and kind of get carried along a little bit as if they're starting to struggle. So looks like she's really picking up the pace now, which is great to see.
Yeah, and as a quick note of respect to those guys that she was standing next to and walking behind, I saw them like offer her the chance to pass, and she declined to catch her breath. And it seemed like everyone there was like really supportive and was kind of cheering her on for a second. And it's always nice to see that kind of supportive behavior. I don't know. That's not a great word, but yeah, everyone there is being very kind and supportive, and I just always love to see that.
Yep, really great camaraderie as always.
There he is. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, this looks like a tough race. Absolutely tough race. I'll be very curious to see the official results for the top men when we can see just how many seconds were between first and second, and between second and third, since we really didn't get to see very much of our third place for the pro men.
Yeah, we have to imagine it's Eugenio there, but still unclear because he had some guys pretty hot in his heels on the spear throw, which was our last look at him. That must be fun going down these tracks on a quad.
It has to be. Absolutely has to be. And like we weren't even watching any racers in that. I was just happy to see like that. It just looked fun.
Absolutely.
Okay, and hopefully we'll run into some of the racers soon. Not hopefully we don't run into them on the quad. That would be a very litigious mistake. That would be a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Why did the camera have to change right as I said that?
Is that covered in our waiver? You
it has to
go
be
for quads. Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely tell it's starting to heat up if people
yep.
are feeling overheated now.
Yep, and we got to get the electrolytes in, especially in a race like this. If you're going to be out there for more than an hour and a half, you're definitely going to want to start mixing some electrolytes, and Gatorade is definitely a top option.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if they have it or not, but I know that a lot of events I've worked where Gatorade or a similar company has been a sponsor, they will like provide the powder and stuff for the water stations as well. So hopefully that's the case here, but I can't say for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember I was doing a marathon in DC, and it was a very, very hot day, so I opted to dump the water cup on my head, but turned out to be one of those Gatorade type equivalents, and I was I was very sticky it was the first water station as well, so it was only mile 2 of my marathon, which definitely did not feel very good. But
that sounds horrible. I hate the feeling of being sticky. That is just one of my sensory nightmares as a neurodivergent person. Oh, that is horrible. I would just walk to the medical tent and be like, take me to the hospital. I'm sticky. This is horrible. I want to go home.
Yeah, it's a tough day to DNF BS.
Yes. How'd your race go? Oh, I DNF'd. Oh, what happened? Like overheat, like twisted ankle, torn ligament. I poured Gatorade on myself.
Got sticky.
All right.
Cool.
All right, weirdo.
All right, here we have, I think, another look at our who must be, considering she's with the rabbit, must be one of our top females here. Starting to utilize some of that downhill now that hopefully that the big incline for her is come and gone.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it seems like we are having a bit more signal and Wi-Fi, just broadcast issues than we were earlier in the day. And I don't know if that's because the satellite's in a different place, if there's cloud cover or something else. But Yeah, we have had a few more hiccups than we were having for the pro men, but hopefully all that stuff gets sorted out soon so we can get good, steady coverage. And thank you to all of our viewers for sticking with us. Despite these hiccups, we are doing our best to bring you the best coverage possible. But as mentioned earlier, a lot of these events and courses are just in very, very remote places where cellular service is not always easy to maintain.
No.
Venga, venga.
Oh no. Oh no, this athlete here is really struggling with the 7-foot wall. So, and
yeah,
one thing to know
she is feeling tired.
Yeah, if you're not familiar, this woman here, unlike if you're running an open race, she's not able to get any assistance. She looks to be asking for. Ooh, actually, all right. Interesting. Oh, okay. Very interesting clarification there. Which looks like she did ask for clarification to utilize the I guess the support beam, the frame there, which I have to imagine is I would have thought would be not allowed. A lot of times on some of the 7 or 8 foot walls, you're going to see a red stepping brick designated for the female athletes, but that was definitely not a red stepping brick. But it appears as though she asked for clarification and she must have got the go ahead. But
yeah, I really hope that doesn't come back around to bite her, because I know that sometimes, despite having the best of intentions, sometimes volunteers can give out inaccurate information when asked about rule clarification. So I'm really hoping that whoever did give her that information was correct, because she's working so hard, and I would hate to see a technicality take her out.
Yeah, the only thing that's definitely challenging about this too is with no burpees and only penalty loops, obstacles like that where maybe the course officials don't expect a lot of people to fail, they maybe don't have a penalty loop set up for the 7-foot wall. So there may have not been that option. So at that point, it's like, what do you do if there's no burpees and there's no penalty loop and you're struggling to get over it? You have to figure out something. And honestly, I would say the fact that she tried it 3 times without any sort of support from the support beam there, I have to say, that's kind of almost enough of a delay on its own for her.
Yeah, I would agree. I see no problems with what she did, but I just, in my experience when I was still working with Spartan, touching the supports and the frames, and especially stepping on them, that wasn't allowed. But as you said, on a lot of walls like that, there will usually be a step-up block that you can use for the pro women. And that one didn't have one, so maybe they decided to allow it. Or maybe the rules are just different now compared to when I still worked there. I can't say, but I just really hope that none of that comes back around to become a problem for her, because she's doing really great and trying really hard.
Yeah, I mean, we have this woman here also in like the blue tights there that also appears to be moving with pretty quickly there. So she also might be one of our top competitors. And given the reddish hair there, I don't see any pictures that look like her on the screen. So would be curious if that's one of our top athletes also.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going through our files of our images that we have for our projected top women, and I don't see her in there, but it looks like she was trucking along at a really good pace.
Yeah, which is again, we definitely do want to see some. We don't want to see these top 5 athletes necessarily be 1 through 5. We would definitely love to see some new faces out there. Making some breakthroughs on their own right.
Yeah, like I was doing live commentary at an event, not a Spartan race, one of the other OCRs, with OCR Report last November. And we were having the most difficult time figuring out who was coming in 3rd place. We knew 1st and 2nd. We had them just, dialed in. We had their names. We knew who they were. But 3rd place, no clue whatsoever through most of the event. And then it turns out this woman only races like twice a year, and she just happened to really just kill it that day. And I love seeing that kind of thing happen. I love an upset.
Absolutely. And then so we just had another look at the pro men, and I believe the guy carrying the sandbag there likely to be maybe like our 4th or 5th place men, but I don't unless he overtook Eugenio there. I want to say that might be our 4th and 5th place battle right here going on. Which it's pretty tight, because we have this man here just putting down the sandbag, which, apologies, we don't know his name, and then also another man giving a nice little flex for the camera. Love to see
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Love
He's
to
having
see
a
good
he's having a
spirits
good
this late
time.
in the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
You gotta have fun.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or you have to hate it so much that you just never want to do it again at the time, and the moment you cross the finish line, you can't wait to do it again. It's one or the other.
Absolutely. Type B type fun.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like between these two gentlemen, probably about a 45-second gap. So this gentleman who's behind in this little mini race here probably needs to hope for a failure of some kind from the guy in front of him in order to catch him. But it's very possible with still with that challenging looking rig that was over water that we saw on Hell Complete.
Yeah. I'm always torn on how I feel about rigs like that over water, or just obstacles in general like that over water that are obviously over water, but not a significant height over water. Because I am not a tall guy. I am like 5'7.5", 5'8". I am not a giant by any means. But I always wonder just how much more difficulty that adds to the people who are like 6'4", 6'5". And because, geez, already having to do all of that work with your upper body, and then basically having to tuck your knees to your chest the entire time as well, so as to not touch the water.
Absolutely. Here we get a great battle. It looks like we have three men with the sandbag that are maybe at least these first two here that are neck and neck. This guy kind of slows to a walk and maybe loses a little bit of ground. But we have three and looks like a fourth. So yeah, several men here with the sandbag, and I have to say this might be rounding out our top 10 right here in the men's race, which still significant points on the line, still a spot to the Pan American Championship on the line. So definitely still a lot for these athletes to be fighting for.
Yeah, and since it's been a while since we talked about it and we're waiting on more updates, could you explain again for those who might not be familiar, just which spots are will gain people access to the Pan Am Championships and all?
Yep. So top 20 in this race here will get a ticket to the Pan American Championship Series. Now, I believe there is roll down as well. So say if a gentleman here comes in 17th place, decides not to attend for one reason or another, there may be like a code that he gets in a certain time frame to sign up for the race. If he decides not to attend, it may roll down to that 21st place person. Not exactly sure on the roll down side of things.
Okay.
But also important to know is that top 20 get points. So your first place person is going to get 23 points in this race. It's going to go down by 2 points every placement until fourth place, and then it's going to go down by 1 point every placement until 20th place, who is going to receive 1 point. So
okay.
Even.
We just heard that we have the official men's top 10. So, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's see that. Here we go. Tyler,
right,
you want to take lead on this?
Sure. Yep. So in first place, we had Angel Quintero there at 59.15, and then Ciro Perez in second place at 59.51. So a very close race there, only a 36-second gap. So definitely a lot smaller than we initially thought. But then down to third place there was Eugenio Godinez at 1:03.29, so 4 minutes there. So definitely, even though those three were tight together, they were it was a pretty large gap between Eugenio to Ciro. And then rounding out our top five, we had Aurelio Furman and Mauricio Martinez. So I think those two gentlemen were the ones we also talked about as athletes to watch in our pre-show. But those two guys with a pretty tight battle there, 1:06.49 and 1:07.08. So only 20 seconds separating those two athletes.
It seems like for the top six, we had like 1 and 2 who were really, really close. 3 and 4 who were real. Oh, actually, no, never mind. Yeah, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were all actually everything after 3 was all pretty close together. We see people coming across the finish line like 1 minute after another until 8, 9, and 10. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, look at 8.
Look
at 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
I really wish we had, even though it's 8, 9, and 10 sometimes seem
Mm-hmm.
insignificant in a race, but 8, 9, and 10, Leonardo Baldia Valdez, and apologies for saying some of these names wrong, and Eduardo Alejandro Cano Ramos and Armando Guadarrama Torres. 112.01, 112.03, 112.03. So that's one of those situations where you gotta like lean across the line, and these are points
Yeah.
on the line. So Leonardo just got 2 more points than Armando by only beating him by 2 seconds. So it's significant for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even getting to like 8, 9, and 10th place out of the top 10, these guys were still hungry for it. Like they did not take placing top 3. They did not take that as a reason to slack off or slow down. They were still gunning for it, and that's what I like to see. That's nice. That's
Yeah,
good.
one of those things where you have to probably put your wrist out to get ahead
Hmm.
the last moment for sure. So now we'll get another little look at the spear throw there. While we tough luck there.
Yeah, I
While
think
we
I
wait
think the
for
rope caught on that one.
Yep. Oh wait, okay. And here's who we believe to be our female leader, 53 minutes into the race. So mind you that the pro men finished in 59 minutes was the winning time,
Hmm.
and
A very
she appeared.
excited Spartan staff member taking pictures there.
Yeah, right. And so she appears to be going uphill, which I'm going to take a guess that she might be somewhere in between that obstacle 13, 14, 15 section where there's 2 kilometers of running with very few obstacles in between. Which, although as we saw with Angel, not a lot of time still on course, so she might. Yeah, I think she's approaching Bender actually. So Bender being
Mhm.
obstacle 13 for her. Yep, coming up on Bender right now. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay,
if I
cool.
had to
Hopefully,
imagine,
we can. Hmm?
yeah, if I had to imagine, she might be somewhere probably about 20 to 25 minutes away from completing the course.
Okay.
But it'll be curious to see if she's in the lead, and B, if she is in the lead, how much of a lead she actually has.
Yeah, because we're still not really seeing anybody close behind her, but we haven't seen her in a while, so who knows if someone may have overtaken her by now.
Right, right.
Yeah, but she had great form going over Bender, so hopefully she's still feeling strong for the rest of this race.
Yes, absolutely.
And while we are watching this with a little bit of a signal issue, a little bit of a delay. I just want to take a quick second and thank all of our viewers for watching, for supporting the OCR report, for being here. Thank you to the OCR report for having both Tyler and myself here to do the commentary, Spartan for having the OCR report, and us to be a part of this event and this broadcast, especially the first time for a multi-language simulcast, which, if you didn't know, we are obviously broadcasting in English right now, but there are other commentators broadcasting in Spanish for the OCR report as well at the exact same time. And you can find that on the OCR report's YouTube, or you can find the link to their YouTube well, you're already on the YouTube. You know what I mean. You can find the link over on the OCR report Instagram, which you should check out anyway, because it's cool. And everybody that works for the OCR report is really nice, and I like them. So support them. Why not?
Yeah, and one thing to note about the OCR reports Instagram as well is they'll I'm sure probably I bet you an hour off after we get off this broadcast there's going to be a beautiful graphic up with the top 3 and top 10 men and women results. So they curate those results for you pretty quickly and get them out to the viewing audience. So yep, and here's the link, or I guess the
Yep.
handle right at the bottom, on the
Yeah.
bottom lower third of your screen.
Yeah. Follow at the OCR report on Instagram. You can follow them on Facebook, and you can become an OCR report member today by supporting the OCR report on Patreon. And they got the little QR code there to make that all the easier for you. Wonderful. And as you just pointed out, the quickness with which they can put together those results graphics to get them up on Instagram within the hour after actually everything is finished. But as we just saw, Jason, our producer, had thrown that graphic together for us minutes after getting all of the information for the top 10 male finishers, and allowed us to have that graphic on screen that we could use to share the information with all the viewers at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to the spear throw.
Oh, this man stuck it with a nice little fist pump. Nothing feels
Yeah, yeah,
better than hitting the spear throw.
yeah. Yeah, you could tell he was overjoyed with that.
Yeah, hey, he doesn't have to do a penalty loop. Love that for him.
Yeah, anytime I do something where I nail it and I'm really excited and I do that, I always get mad at myself for not playing it cool like I knew it was going to happen.
Absolutely.
Ooh, another one of these tight and narrow, really technical sections.
God. A lot of congestion there as well.
Yeah, so you're not only having to look at the ground to make sure that you keep strong footing and don't break an ankle or roll an ankle, but you also got to keep eyes on the path in front of you so you don't, just plow through another racer. There's a lot of things to think about right here, especially, as you said, with so much congestion on the course.
Absolutely. She's definitely picked up the pace here for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, we had a couple of very brief concerns when she took, walking breaks earlier on, but it looks like those walking breaks served her well, and she saved some energy, and it's coming out right now because she is moving.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think she probably looking down at her watch, she probably knows how much time she's going to be out on course, and she probably feels like she's nearing the end, especially if she studied the course map beforehand.
Yeah, completely agreed. Okay, we got somebody coming into frame.
Let's see, trail racer. It looks like these are trail racers.
Yeah, not exactly sure who we are waiting on right here.
Yes, but I have to imagine. All right, back to again our. I always feel bad saying our, our projected leader, but until we get confirmation, we'll have to keep calling her the projected leader. And again, we, as of this moment, we still think this is Isabel.
Yeah, still think that. Could be wrong, and I'll just go ahead and say it again for anyone who may have joined the broadcast and the chat recently. Tyler and I, we are not overly familiar with these particular athletes, have not worked with them before. So in the event that we don't know someone's name, or if we call someone by the wrong name and you happen to be more familiar and want to correct us, please do not be shy about putting that in the chat. We want to make sure to get the names right and give these athletes the proper respect and recognition for what they're doing out here. So do not be shy about dropping that information into the chat. We can't see it personally, but our producer will, and he will not be shy about letting us know. So please do not hesitate to let us know. I just heard that this potentially could be Ana Jimenez Morales. Was that it?
Okay.
Okay, and she was not on our top 5 projected leaders. So this could be really, really exciting. Oh, we finally get to see people taking on this rather unique balance beam design. And it looks like people are doing really well on it.
All right, well. All right, so and Dustin, what did you say the first name of this athlete was?
Ana Jimenez Morales, I believe.
Ana Jimenez Morales, okay. Oh, and yep, she just made that balance beam look light work. So that's probably one of the biggest points of concern. Yeah. She's gonna take some looks like some sort of more electrolytes or water, maybe another sponsor that they have here in the Mexican Series. And she's going to smartly walk with the water, so she's getting a few more steps in while she takes her, instead of just completely stopping and just continuing her forward progress while she takes her water break. But then she gets right back into her running stride. So that was the balance beam, which is obstacle 14. She's going to have a good bit of a run here until obstacle 15, but then she'll get into that obstacle gauntlet pretty soon.
Okay, nice. So we should be. not only seeing a lot more obstacles that she can take on really soon, but once they get back to festival, it should be a stronger cellular signal, and we should have pretty much uninterrupted coverage of her coming through that sequence, which would be really, really nice.
Yes, and then
Yeah,
also
just
we'll get
finished.
an idea. Yeah, we'll get an idea of who else might be in the mix here for top 3, top 5, top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you weren't with us at the beginning of the broadcast, you may be wondering why we're only at 1 hour in for the women. There was a good bit of a delay with the start times for the pro men and the pro women. And yeah, they got off a little bit late. So we are now running a little bit late. But just wanted to explain in case anybody was wondering who wasn't here in the very beginning for all that.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, so we've dropped off of Anna and then started walking backwards, and we still don't see anybody just yet. So that's definitely good.
It's a good sign for her.
Sign.
Yeah.
Yep, good news for Anna for sure.
I'd be really curious to know who these people are on the bicycles. Are they just like random mountain bikers? Are they staff?
Yeah. Honestly, who knows? I think. I think I know for sure. I mean, you know better than I would probably for sure. But Spartan definitely does bring out some quads and things like that for usually for injury evacuations, right? Where they have to someone twist an ankle and can't get back to the festival area. But here we have again who we believe to be Anna taking on the Stairway to Sparta coming up here.
Okay, cool. So we're up to obstacle 15.
Yep, which kind of I believe starts the gauntlet of obstacles. So hopefully she can make this with one attempt here and not have to waste too much energy. Let's see, really great pull strength, nice. But you can tell she's gassed for sure. But you don't blame her though either.
No, I mean with how fast she's been moving and the way that she's been tackling these obstacles, the fact that she's still upright is astounding. This is so much better than I could ever do, and she is an incredible athlete. She has been pushing so hard.
Absolutely.
But yeah, as you said, this was obstacle 15, and it's obstacle 19 where the gauntlet really, really begins. She'll be doing the Z-Wall, Atlas Carry, and the Splash Sprint, which hopefully we will get the chance to see this time because that is an obstacle that neither of us is familiar with. And then 19 is where the festival area really begins, the finish line sequence, and as you put it, the obstacle gauntlet.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. 1 hour and 5 minutes into the race. All right, and here we have back to another woman who we're familiar with seeing, but still unfamiliar with the name. So if we have a name for this athlete, that would also be much appreciated, so we can give her the respect that she deserves. And maybe we'll see her get to an obstacle soon, so we can maybe have an idea of the distance between her and Anna.
Hay que entrenar antebrazo, coach. ¿Y qué podemos hacer para entrenar este antebrazo, coach?
Híjole, primero damos aquí un breviario cultural, un dato, un sabías que, aprovechando la transmisión para todos aquellos que nos ven, sabían que la fuerza de un indicativo directo de qué tan viejos estamos como seres humanos. Conforme vayamos envejeciendo, quiere decir que pues tienes mayor probabilidad de vivir más tiempo. Veamos a los niños, cómo los colgados que nacen, tienen un grip perfecto, mucha fuerza, cargan su cuerpo.
All right. Yeah, so still we're still unsure on this person's name there, but for now we can talk about it. It looks like this woman here and the man who is slightly off screen, they're kind of running the same pace, so both of them can kind of be working together on accomplishing their own individual goals. This man here might be in contention for an age group podium, and then it appears as though this woman here might be in contention for an elite female podium, which is so definitely they can both really they're finding they're running similar paces, they can really work together to accomplish their goals.
Yeah, it's definitely getting a bit harder to immediately recognize who might be running as part of what group with the bits of crowding that we're seeing with all of the various competitive groups going out there. I love the peace signs from.
That was awesome.
He's like, this is my moment. I'm taking it.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
Okay, so we just got some cursory information. We think, could be wrong, so take it with a grain of salt, but we are fairly confident that this woman here, who we have been told is Anna, is in first place, and the other woman whose name we do not know is temporarily confirmed as
we got a
second.
fail.
Off the Z wall. Oh, it's got to do the penalty loop. Oh,
yep. So
and we don't.
Okay.
Oh, and we also just found out this might not be Anna. So if someone knows her name, let us know, and we will gladly give our apologies and a correction on that. Someone had told us that this was Ana Jimenez Morales, I think was like, it's been a while since I said the name. But we had been told that that's who this was. And so that's the name we've been using. So if that is incorrect and someone knows the correct name, please let us know. We want to make sure to get these athletes' names right. And we don't know exactly how much space is between first and second, but was that our second place athlete coming up in the background of that kind of frozen shot there?
Yep. So down in camera 4 currently, we do have second place, who is working on the Stairway to Sparta, which she struggled with the 7-foot wall previously, but she seems to have no problem with the Stairway to Sparta, which is great news for her. That can be an obstacle that tends to be challenging for the female athletes, usually because of stature, especially in the beast distance when they have the rock rips, because usually that first set of rock rips is just so high up for those athletes that they can't even reach them. And it comes to a point where typically they want to take the penalty loop. But so I was really glad to see this athlete here get up on the first try, not to waste extra energy like she did on the 7-foot wall. So now we're ping-ponging back and forth here between first and second place. So second place here was just completing obstacle 13, which is the Stairway to Sparta, or excuse me, 15 Stairway to Sparta, and first place here is completing the Atlas carry, which is obstacle 17. A good bit of running between 15 and 17. I'd have to say probably about a half kilometer or so. So there's probably, we had to guess, probably a solid like 2 to 3 minute lead, which I think we'll be able to make out more clearly once we get to the sandbag carry, especially if first place is still on the sandbag carry when second place approaches or gets to it as well. We'll be able to have a better idea.
Yeah, before we had confirmation on exactly how much distance there was between the two, I was really concerned with first place failing that Z wall and having to run the penalty loop, and I was wondering if that was going to cause a switch for first and second.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that to be the case just yet, but if this athlete here can finish Z wall without having to take a penalty, that's going to unbeknownst to her, that's going to make a big gain for that athlete.
Yeah, definitely will. And I mean, if our first place athlete can still avoid any further failures, then she's got first place in the bag.
Absolutely.
But yeah, if there's any more failures, hiccups, unexpected delays, then it could be a much tighter race than we're currently seeing.
We're seeing another athlete move with a red headband pretty darn quickly past who we believe to be in second place. So we have to imagine there's a good chance. I mean, this athlete is flying comparatively.
Yeah.
We'd love to know. Yeah, and she has a pro band on her arm there, and she appears to be moving extremely quickly. So coming a bit out of surprise, but this could be a dark horse entry into this last mile and a half of this race.
If I'm remembering correctly from what I saw at the start line, and bear in mind that was an hour and 11 minutes ago, that may be Dulce Velasquez Flores coming in, passing our second place to take the second place and truck along like that looks like it could be her based on what I think I remember her wearing, but it was a very brief moment over an hour ago when I did see her. So take that with a grain of salt until we have confirmation.
Yes, but we like to think our projection could be right there, where she is now moved into second place, which kind of seemingly out of nowhere. Honestly, we did not expect her to be in the picture, but here she is.
Yeah. Yeah, and she is moving, and she is going strong. Like, she is just speeding past all these people.
So she's
we're about to see her
Z-Wall
take on
now.
the Z-Wall. Yeah.
But yeah, I still think it's around a 3-ish minute gap though between first and second place, even still. So we desperately need no failure out of her, and she's around the hard section, which is always good news. So she seems to be nice and rhythmic, which is what you want on Z-Wall.
So yeah, Z-Wall is such a frustrating obstacle because you want to speed through it, but
okay. Yep. We just got word that the girl in first place is Eloisa Godinez Romero. Yep. So we do finally think we have confirmation on that first place female's name, which is great news. Yeah.
Okay, and we should be getting confirmation on second place's name as well really soon. Our producer just told us.
Although, do we have another woman on the sandbag carry as well with a rabbit following her? Because it looks like there's a woman kind of hustling who we haven't really been talking about either with the sandbag carry also. Yeah. But I don't know if you, Dustin, see that as well, but there was someone whose sandbag kind of exploded.
I don't see what you're talking about, but as you said, sandbag has exploded. There's too many people for me to really track down and spot easily.
Yeah, but Eloisa
there's always a possibility.
And then, and then who we think to be, Dustin, you said you said we think she might be Dulce Velasquez Flores, right? Putting down the Atlas carry. So still a very solid gap. But yeah, we see right now a female of some sort, in some category putting down the sandbag.
Okay, I see who you're talking about in the black leggings and the black sports bra. Putting it down and is now running away. So yeah, there is someone.
So there's a chance she could be in the mix as well. Hard to imagine her being an age grouper if the age grouper started afterwards and already overtaking into what would have been second place elite. But I mean, weirder things have happened.
Yeah, and while we wait for confirmation on the woman who is either in second or third place, her name, I just want to remind everyone, you can become a member of the OCR Report by joining and supporting on Patreon. And the more supporters that the OCR Report gets, that means the more money and the more resources that the OCR Report will have in order to provide consistently better, more upgraded, and higher quality coverage, more cameras, more rabbits, and to be able to provide all of this as a free service to you, the viewer. So check them out on Patreon. You can learn more about that on Instagram at the OCR Report. And we'd love to have you as a supporter and as a member. And we are now seeing Eloisa here at Hercules Hoist.
Yep, and then so we believe it. Yeah, second
place is closing in fast.
Yep. And so now we would love to work on a name for second place, but now we really think she's in the mix. And but she's definitely a smaller athlete, definitely really struggling with that. It looks like she's doing a black bag. What? Did it not look like she was doing a black bag on that Hercules hoist, or was that me?
I was looking away for a second. I was watching Eloisa doing the rope climb and focusing on like the good strong technique, but not necessarily the fastest. And second place is now having to do the penalty. So you may be right; she may have gotten the wrong bag and not had been able to do it.
Because it looked like Eloisa did a red bag, which is the red bag is for females. But it looked like second place was doing the black bag, which is typically the male weight. So he may have unknowingly tried the male weight and therefore failed it. But here
how
comes
frustrating must that be?
Yeah, but here comes the big point of contention for Eloisa with the multi-rig. And despite the failure on the Herc hoist for second place, she quickly made it through rope climb and is approaching the platform for multi-rig with what appears to be Eloisa still standing on the platform. We would definitely love to try to get back to that shot for sure, because that's going to be a tight race. But and here we have third place currently approaching the sandbag carry. So if there is failures on both ends there, if there's still a chance for her, but she's definitely has an uphill battle. Okay, and here we have, and again, unfortunately, some tough signal here, but we definitely have Eloisa in the air on this rig.
Yeah, and Eloisa was looking tired as she climbed onto that platform. So hopefully she's able to stay strong through that rig, because I know that's not easy, even on your best day. And after really being so gassed after such a tough race like this in this kind of heat and all the sun and everything, we really could see a big shift between first and second, especially with them so tight together, and with second place still looking so strong, especially with upper body, the way she just smoked that rope climb so fast.
Absolutely. All right, and so here we have a look at the cargo net, which is after the let's see here. And it looks like we have who was our second place woman on the cargo net right now, but who knows if Eloisa actually made it through the multi-rig. That is the question we're asking at the moment.
Yeah. Right now it's Schrodinger's racer. We don't know. We got nothing until we see confirmation. She is both first and second place.
Yes, but right now we have her on to the going underneath the Jeep crawl. Oh, she's finishing the race. So, and we do not see Eloisa anywhere. So, she crossed the tape. So she got it. So Eloisa must have failed the multi-rig.
I think that might be Isabel Bolivar.
Okay.
That might be her. That looks like it could be her based on the image we have in our pre-race documents, but I could be wrong. So let's wait for confirmation before officially congratulating her by that name.
Yes, absolutely. But congratulations.
Either way, killer performance. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, this is an obstacle race. Obstacles matter, and here we see. So here we've got second place Eloisa Godinez Romero coming through, and it seems as though she's pretty disappointed. I mean, how couldn't you be after leading the race for all this time, and then coming up short on an obstacle? But unfortunately, it is an obstacle race, so obstacles are going to come into play.
Yeah, but God, that has to be so disappointing to be so close and get passed so close to the finish line.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Look, it's funny. Why am I doubting that maybe this first place is Dulce Velasquez Flores? I mean, just it's it's like I feel like we're guessing all over the place. But again, we want to definitely wait to congratulate by the name until we get the confirmation. So for now, So watch us carefully here. Watch us Hercules hoist, and the color of the bag is red.
Yeah, whereas you are absolutely right.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that the first place person, which thankfully it actually ended up not costing her because she was able to make it up, ended up failing the Hercules hoist because she did the bag that's in black, which is generally designated for the men.
Yeah, I really wonder how long the penalty loop is for failing the Herc hoist, because it seems like she wasn't out of the game for long at all. It seemed like she left for the penalty loop, and next thing we knew, she was at the top of rope climb.
Yeah, right, exactly. So maybe not a long one, but I mean, that's what gets difficult about these penalty loops, is that because of the venue's restrictions and things like that, you never know how long they can be. Sometimes we're seeing them put farmers carries or crawls in there to lengthen that time wise. But it didn't seem like that was the case, and maybe she kind of got a little bit of a lucky break with the length of that penalty loop for her. but also
Yeah,
a
I'm
bad
thinking
break
so.
because she also unknowingly did the black bag.
Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like we're going to have our top 3 women all through very, very soon. And as soon as we get confirmation on their names, we will get everyone updated with all of that. And then eventually we will update everyone with the top 10 women, as we did with the top 10 male finishers. And all that information will be put up in graphic form on Instagram as soon as possible after this broadcast closes.
Yep. All right, let's take another look at this this multi-rig here for third place. So it seems like there's nobody contending her for third place, but I'm sure she would like to finish this just for not only a moral victory, but also for because nobody wants to run any extra than she already has done so far. So she would probably just love to finish this and be home instead of having to run. And also
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just loving
Nobody
this
else.
camera angle here
Yeah.
because the reflections in the water kind of make it look like blood, which is just needlessly dramatic.
All right. Let's get a
And I
big
am a sucker for
pull
the
here.
drama.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, no, I think it's so cool how this is rigged because of the length of the rope, but she's able to use that strap
Mhm.
to her advantage. But then she has to go up high for the next ring, which she doesn't seem to have a problem with, and then right into the bell, which she's just taking an extra swing, and one more ring, and bang. Yep, she's got it. All
Yeah,
right.
nice. Yeah, these like multi-level different height rings really, really force you to have to use proper form on the pullback and make sure you have plenty of momentum for the swing forward to grab the higher ring ahead of you. And it's really easy to lose track of what you're doing and accidentally drop form and fail the obstacle. But it seems as though all of our top women that we've seen come through so far have maintained proper form on that and done really well.
Yeah, well, minus minus first to second place because we think that first place may have overtaken Eloisa
Mm.
on that multi-rig. So we imagine she may have failed that obstacle, especially the way she looked coming across the line, a little disappointed.
I mean,
But
maybe, but at the
didn't get
same
to see
time,
it.
none of them looked soaked when they crossed the finish line. So that's why I'm
This
thinking
is
that
true.
they probably didn't fail it.
Oh, this is true. Yes, it's good point there.
I watch a lot of Sherlock. It helps.
Yeah. She was not wet, so therefore she probably did not fall in the water. Yeah.
That's the only time I'm going to sound smart today. Cool. And then I just rounded out by being a total dork, which is what everyone in the world would expect from me.
Yeah. One thing that was interesting too is I think it was Eloisa, her footwear. She looks like she's wearing like Asics road shoes, to be honest, when I was looking at it. Not this person who is kind of frozen on our screen, but Eloisa in the red there. It looked like she was wearing, like I said, not trail shoes for doing this race. So I guess we got word that we got the end of the signal here.
Okay, so our okay, so our third place female has finished. We just got confirmation on that. Signal has kind of broken out a bit, and we are working on getting that back. If we can get that reestablished, we will. But bear with us while we wait for that and wait for a bit more information. I don't know if the audience can hear this, but we were hearing basically everything that was happening in the festival area then, and there was a great deal of celebration and excitement as the top 3 women were confirmed across the finish line.
Yep, absolutely. So soon we should be able to get a graphic up for the top 3 with their times. But we'll let's see. I'm trying to see if we can maybe get any sort of where we're going next. Now it seems like these 3 series, both U.S., Canada, and Mexico that we were talking about in the pre-show, both of them are going to be a super sprint beast, kind of in different orders. We already saw Jacksonville being the first race of the sprint, the U.S. series 2 weeks ago as a sprint. This is a super. I believe we have the next race as a sprint in June, and then we have another beast race in August. But leading up to the Pan American Championship, and kind of a similar situation with Canada. So.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That is something that I have no.
All right. So we got confirmation that we're still waiting on the women's times as of right now. I think we're right around like the 123 to 125 mark for third place. So I'd have to imagine, somewhere around that like 119 for first, 120 or so for second, and about 123 for third confirmed once we can get those results in.
Yeah, and even more than the actual times for the top three win, we're still waiting on confirmation for their identity as well. So we will update everyone with their names as soon as we get that. We know that Eloisa was in first, but we're still waiting for confirmation on second and third. And since we don't have our video signal running right now, we don't know where fourth and fifth may be and if they've crossed the finish line already or not. But we will keep everyone updated as we can. But we saw such a cool. Yeah, the live results have not updated. We will update everyone when they do. But yeah, we got to see a really, really cool last minute overtake between first and second for the women today, which is always really, really cool and exciting. And I don't know where second place was hiding for most of this race. Like our rabbits she somehow passed our rabbits, snuck by, and nobody really noticed where she was until you, Tyler, just happened to spot her among that crowd of people that looked like someone had kicked an anthill because there were so many. You just happened to notice that there was one person out there in a sports bra and spotted second place when nobody else did. So well done on that. But what a way to
Call
end
me the
it.
Sherlock. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
perfect.
Yeah, for sure. Although look at her, I noticed her because her sandbag kind of exploded, which sometimes that can happen.
Oh,
It
did
happened
it?
in Abu Dhabi it happened in Abu
Mhm.
Dhabi as well with Esther's sandbag also exploding
Mhm.
when she was overtaking Lindsay Webster too. So
Oh,
that can happen, and it's not the athlete's fault. So she kind of got a lucky break with that, but then also an unlucky break with
mhm.
the men's Hercules hoist. So it was really juggling
It
act
balanced
of
out.
luck for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. No, I always love seeing it.
Okay.
Oh,
Perfect. So I think we're not going to quite get the stream back up here, so apologies on that end there. But we do have our first through third place at least through the finish line, and then we also had our top 10 confirmed for the men. So follow the OCR report on Instagram for the graphics and the final results on that one. Dustin, any closing words for us here?
As always, thank you so much to all of the viewers, for the on-site staff, all of the people who were working the event, all of those who volunteered to be support staff. The race could not happen without you. Thank you to the OCR report for having Tyler and myself here to do commentary today. Thank you to all of the viewers for being here and making it so we're not just talking to ourselves. Thank you to anybody who's a part of the OCR report Patreon and is helping support. OCR Report being able to bring free coverage to all of you so you can stay an active part of this wonderful community that we've all spent the past 14, 15 years building together. Thank you to Spartan Race for having the OCR Report and us out here to do this broadcast. And thank you to everybody on the OCR Report team for all the work that they do to make it possible behind the scenes, especially Jason, our producer, for the quick work on all of the cameras, the graphics, and everything that's about to come on Instagram at the OCR report when all of the information and results are in, and you can find the results graphics on there probably pretty soon.
Yep.
So yeah,
Beautifully
that's
said,
it.
Dustin. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Couldn't have been said better for sure. So until next time, we'll see you later.
All right, take care, gang. Yep.